Patrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jet Take. I'm your host, Ben Blessington. Alongside me, as always, is Mr. Money, Kyle Fahey. Kyle, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Ben. We got a special guest on the line. We got some football to talk about after the interview. We got a show.
Yeah, we have quite a few things planned for tonight. Yes, obviously we have a Super Bowl MVP of the 43rd Super Bowl for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and one of my favorite players during that Rex Ryan AFC Championship era. Santonio Holmes is coming on the show in just under a minute here. Really quickly, the other news we have is we are now a part of Turn on the Jets, which is obviously, if you haven't heard, Jets website. We'll definitely make sure to plug all sorts of different podcasts, different articles and stuff. So that's now our network we're under. So big thank you to those guys, and hopefully I think this will definitely expand our podcast, Kyle.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Feels nice to be supported.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Santonio. Santonio, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us.
Oh man, thanks for having me on, Ben and Kyle.
Yeah, well, we know you're a very busy guy. You obviously have your own foundation. I hear you've been taking classes at Ohio State. Is that true? What are you necessarily studying?
Right now, I'm studying. I'm finishing my finance degree at the Ohio State University. Hopefully, I'll be finished come next year, December.
Well, that's awesome. And then the other thing, I hear you also have a daughter that's less than a year old. How is that doing? How is that? How different is that from playing in the NFL? I mean, being in training camp every day, and now you're raising a daughter. I mean, is it more difficult? Just how is life different with the newborn daughter?
Well, I can't say for any of the guys that do have newborns and just finished playing football that you're back on another set schedule, where you're up feeding, you're up changing diapers, you have to walk, you have playtime, you have nap time, you have time where the baby goes down, and then you have to do things, and then she's back up. You have more playtime, feeding. So it's a full-time job, on top of being a college student as well.
Yeah, a lot of work, but again, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to talk some not only some Jets football, but a big focus on your foundation. We're going to get to that foundation in just a bit. But really quickly, let's talk about your days as a Jet. I guess we'll just actually before that, we're going to go back a little earlier, just a bit, to obviously probably your most famous play, which I'm sure you've talked about thousands of times, but your game-winning touchdown catch in Super Bowl 43. I mean, just take us through that experience. I mean, before the play, during the play, and obviously all the fanfare after the play. I mean, that's every kid's dream, growing up playing football is to catch the game-winning touchdown in a Super Bowl, and you did it. So just take us through that whole moment.
Oh, man, for all the Jets fans, it was just like that moment, beating the Patriots to get up to the AFC Championship game to play against the Pittsburgh Steelers, right after they had traded me to the New York Jets. But to talk about that play, first and foremost, we always have to give thanks to God for the opportunity to be a football player, to the team to make it to the championship game, and for my quarterback, as well, delivering that last pass, and we both connected and completing, that final drive and making it one of the most memorable opportunistic, opportunities that we could possibly have. I mean, just from the start of that play, being around the guys in the huddle, just like, wow, we've come down to this play or the next play, and we can't kick a field goal. So, Roethlisberger comes back into the huddle and he looks at everyone, and my eyes didn't register the fact that he was looking at me and ready to throw me a pass. And when he gave out our play call, I was to myself like, whoa, like we've thrown this play too many times from the first postseason game until right now, and we've never completed this pass, and you're going to call it the last play of the Super Bowl, Coach BA. And he called it. And, my mind was focused, my eyes, my hands, my feet were all, in one sync. And Roethlisberger placed the ball, man, where it was just nobody else but me, an opportunity to come down with it. And I think all of those fade routes that we had thrown towards each other throughout the whole summer leading up until that final catch really paid off, because we had practiced just throwing fade routes in the right corner of the end zone in the Pittsburgh Steelers practice facility, day in and day out throughout that entire summer. And who would have knew but God that opportunity was coming, for us to win our sixth championship.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, one of the greatest moments in football history, and you if you watch the NFL films and you can hear what you're saying as you're sitting down in the back pylon. I mean, obviously was a very emotional moment for you. Moving on, I mean, it's the Jet takes. We got to talk some of your time with the New York Jets, which was obviously some of the best times to be a New York Jets fans were those two FC championships, particularly the second one, the one that you were a part of. That team, I mean, it was a special team. What was your favorite memory from that whole year? I mean, we'll get into specifics in just a second, but as a whole year, which was, again, as I said, one of the best years to be a Jets fan, what was your favorite memory? Was it that Jets-Patriots game that you mentioned earlier, or was there another moment that was your favorite?
If we're talking personal, then that's totally different, but the whole aspect of having those guys on that defense that knew our offense was a big challenge to keep our teams in all the ball games. But with Coach Ryan believed in leaving Revis on his own, having Cromartie play, just about everywhere over the field, having safety help, all the time. And that front five, with those D linemen and Dave Harris in the middle, our core was outstanding, at that time. And I cheered for those guys every time they stood on the field. But if it comes down to me being personal, it would probably have to be the game-winning catch against the Texans that year, and also that catch against the New England Patriots in the end zone. Just flying, and being able to come down with 1 foot and the knee, to solidify our place in going to an AFC Championship game.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine that must be a special moment. And Santonio, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Let's talk about those clutch catches. You're known for them. As you said, the Texans, obviously in the Super Bowl against the Browns. What made you such a clutch player? Were you just calm under pressure?
Well, when you think about the name Tone Time, you don't see 15, 10, 12 flashy plays throughout a football game. It's that one that could either break the defense down or spark up the entire team. And that was who Santonio Holmes was. He understood that there were 11 guys on the field, and that I could only catch as many balls as the quarterback will give me an opportunity to. So only do what you can with the opportunities that you get. And that was Tone Time. If I only got 2 or 3 passes thrown at me the whole game, you best believe I was trying to make something big happen for our team. And that's kind of how I got that nickname of being Tone Time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your play on the field, just showed it at every time. You brought up the group that you guys had, that wide receiving core, Edwards, Cotchery, Smith, and obviously yourself. Was that the best you've ever been a part of?
You can't forget Keller. He helped us tremendously. And LaDainian. I think Sanchez just had a group of guys, man, that was so hungry and was cool with playing with each other, And the fact that we believed in Coach Schottenheimer's system. We took everything in stride, and we knew that at any given moment it was going to be one of us that was going to make a play for this team, and we always had to be ready. But if we consider that being the best receiver core I've been on, you have to consider the fact that I played next to a Super Bowl MVP in Hines Ward, and we had Nate Washington, Heath Miller, and and Mike Wallace, as well. So, I mean, those two groups, I really feel I had a great opportunity of playing with some great guys during my 10 years in the NFL.
Yeah, you mentioned Hines Ward. What type of advice did he give you as a young player coming into the league? I mean, you mentioned those two groups. I mean, obviously the latter with the Jets. You were probably the leader. You were the veteran in that group. But more with the Steelers, you were the young pup. You had Hines Ward, who had been in the league. What advice did he give you coming into the NFL?
Mostly to take advantage of opportunities that you have, and don't get hurt to where you're going to miss these games. You're going to miss these games, and you will never get them back. And that was something that stuck with me on how much I trained, how much effort I put into taking care of my body throughout the seasons and during the off season. And that allowed me to have a 9-year career. It would have been longer, God forbid if the injury never happened to me playing on turf. But, things happen for a reason, and you have to believe in the fact that you have other callings in this world other than being a blessing to someone playing in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think that's you mentioned that injury, which was obviously one of the hardest things to see. As not only, I mean, obviously it was terrible for you, but as a Jets fan to watch, one of our favorite players to go down to that injury. It was tough, and you were not obviously the only person who went down that year in 2012. Darrelle Revis also went down as well. You two were probably the offensive and defensive heads of that that 2010-2011 team. Talk about going up against him every day in practice. I mean, what was that experience like? I mean, he's obviously renowned as at least one of the best corners of all time, at least during that period. What was that like? I mean, you were going up against one of the best corners in his prime. Did that make you a better player? I mean, was it just frustrating? Just tell us about that.
Well, it was definitely a battle every day in practice. Nothing came easy for myself or for him. We both worked for everything that we deserved. We competed hard every day. We pushed each other. I think we together made the young receivers and DBs around us realize what real life competition, hard work, starting wide receiver versus starting defensive back, number one versus number one every day in practice. It gave these young kids something to learn from, something to see, and something to talk about. As they carry out their journey of being NFL players, to where they can talk to other guys about what Tone did in practice versus Revis, and they can, and vice versa, what Revis did with to Tone. So those moments and those battles, really put forth, a great friendship that he and I have to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up young wide receivers. We have a couple of those on today's team. If you were to give, a young receiver any advice, coming into the game today or developing as a player, maybe they've been here for a couple of years, what would you tell them?
Well, first thing I would tell those young guys, you can't catch a football with your eyes closed. And when I say that, you think twice about how people catch football. If you ask a young kid how to catch a football, he would tell you with his hands. Well, I would tell him different. You close your eyes for 3 seconds and let me toss a football to you, and you catch it.
Yeah.
How does that play out? So when you think about catching a football and playing during the game, you keep your eyes on the football, you don't blink, and you use your peripheral to play a game. You watch and see where the defenders are coming from based on the route that you have, based on the coverage that they're given, based on the disguises that they do, based on the release that you take. You have to know how these things add up to seconds and timing to being in the exact spot at the right time for the quarterback. Those are some very key components of being a wide receiver to protect yourself, protect the quarterback from throwing interceptions, and get yourself in a great position to make big plays.
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys, in the NFL could definitely take that advice, and I hope they listen to it. I want to talk a little bit about, the Rex Ryan era, obviously back-to-back, AFC Championship appearances. I want to talk about, behind the wins, behind, the camaraderie that we had. What was it like in that locker room? It seemed that, all you guys just bonded really well. I mean, that's why we were able to beat teams like the Patriots. I mean, with one of the best quarterbacks of all time, one of the best coaches of all time, behind the helm. So what was it like, in the locker room where you guys were able to, overcome, things that were in the way of us becoming great?
I mean, if I gave you locker room talk, I would probably be one of those guys. So I can't give you any locker room talk, but to fill you in on what it was like, we all believe what Coach Ryan was telling us. We believed in each other, and we always played for one another. We would have guys come to the sideline on different sides of the ball, and just speak to one of the players on something that they saw on the football field. And that alone made us believe in each other, trust each other, and depend on each other that we were all going to do our jobs. And when you have a group like that hang out with each other, while the receivers did, the running backs, the quarterbacks, DBs, linemen, whoever, that chemistry can't be taken away. And as we started losing our veterans and losing players to injuries, that chemistry started fading because we didn't have that. But the Coach Rex Ryan, he did one hell of a job, in his tenure in New York. I still believe and trust him, with every, piece of my heart, and I thank him for giving me the opportunity to be a Jet. And we all just believed that playing like a Jet was the way to go, and that was fast and hard, and that's how we try to get the job done.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, look, that was Rex was an unbelievable. I'm trying to think of the right word. He really got the fans to stick together. I mean, he was something that all fans could rally around. And in those few years and the peak there, I mean, he was the face of the New York Jets, and that was awesome to have. And I mean, you hear, not just you, some of the other players I've talked to, rave about him as a coach, and what you guys were able to do and how he motivated you guys. I want to ask you just a few more questions about football, and then we're going to move on to your foundation, and then we'll let you go. We as we talked about earlier, we know you're very busy. I guess you talked about it a little bit with the receivers. Again, the Jets right now have a very young quarterback in Christian Hackenberg, and you played with a few young quarterbacks in your time, probably most notably Mark Sanchez. Going into his second year, that was your first year with the team. What advice would you give to a young quarterback? I mean, what advice did you give to Mark Sanchez? And obviously, Mark and Christian are in different places. I don't know if you know, but, obviously Mark played an entire season up until that second year, and Christian has not played a game yet. But what advice, as an overarching statement, what advice would you give to a young quarterback as a receiver, as a quarterback's best friend?
Build a relationship with those guys, man. Spend time with them, take them out, get to know them. Share the love in practice. Don't find a favorite. Talk to your receivers about where they would like the balls placed, because that was one of the most important things about me is if you could put the ball anywhere within my reach, there's a chance. But you have to learn who I am as a receiver. You have to learn how I play. You have to learn how I like to catch a football. You have to learn when sideline catches can be made, when short throws, can turn into big throws based on ball placement. And if he can get that down packed to learning how his receivers play the game and just trusting those guys and trusting the coaching staff and just be a quarterback, be the same guy he was, for his team in college, and just show those guys how to improve, and you're going to build off of your mistakes. And you're not going to let those guys down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's some great advice that a lot of young players, and especially the young quarterbacks on the Jets, can listen to. I want to ask you, growing up, watching football, obviously during middle school, high school, was there a certain player you watched that you tried to model your game after, or you looked up to? Was there a certain player, growing up?
I mean, if we like I said, we talk about personal favorites. That's a different story. But I was a wide receiver. I was a fan of the game. I watched every guy from Jerry Rice to Flipper Anderson to Henry Eller to Randy Moss, Michael Irvin. The list goes on. John Stallworth, Hines Ward. I can keep going. Wayne Corbett and how he played the game. Chris Chambers, and those big hands. Watching Chris Carter making sideline catches. I wanted to imitate those guys. And the only way I could learn how to imitate those guys was to just practice catching every football with my eyes, not worried about my hands. Because if I could see the trajectory of a football coming towards me and it's a little bit high, but I know I got a little bit sideline to go, I'm going to already position myself to where my hands can catch the ball, but my eyes are literally watching what I'm trying to do at that time. So it's a way to how you learn and study the game, and every receiver is different. Every guy learns the game his own way, but my way was learning just how to catch a ball by using my peripheral vision and never just staring down the football. It was always, if it's coming directly at me, but it's coming to my left, I'm not going to look at it, but I'm just going to put my hands down there and I'm going to catch it, because now that gives me an opportunity to turn my head to watch and see what I need to do next, as opposed to trying to watch the football all the way. And it kind of got me in trouble with my coaches every now and then, because they didn't like the fact that I didn't look in every pass, and that's not a great habit to have as a young receiver or a veteran receiver, is not looking in the pass. But I got away with it because I really worked on that skill and developed, a great skill.
Yeah, absolutely. Just great. And I actually have a question. It's going on right now. It's in the swing of things. HBO, Hard Knocks, popular program. You were on it. What was it like, having like a camera crew around you guys 24/7 in the locker room?
You have to be mindful of some of the things you say. You can't talk about, other players in the sense of, not being disrespectful, but the fact that your competition mindset is completely different, and then when you put cameras on, it's like you get an opportunity to see exactly who you are, and I don't think you should, give that person to the world. You protect that person and you put him and display him on the football field when it comes down to playing. You give them all that aggression. So I enjoyed Hard Knocks. It was a great opportunity for the fans to see Tone Time at work, coming from the Pittsburgh Steelers as a Super Bowl MVP and joining the Jets that year and coming in and making a splash impact. It was all about just make your plays. It was never about trying to do more than what the job required or trying to do someone else's job. It's completely doing your job the best you know how to.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that that Hard Knocks would be difficult for any team to be a part. But yeah, I mean that was one of the best years of Hard Knocks. Watching Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez and Antonio Cromartie. That was obviously a fun bunch. But yeah, I think it definitely had its disadvantages, and I always thought about that you kind of had to always be mindful of what you're saying, and certainly some players have gotten in trouble for that. Let's move on. Away from football, what you're doing off the field. In the fall of 2011, you started your Third and Long Foundation. I mean, you're here, promoting it. Just tell us about it.
I'm sorry to interrupt that, but I started the foundation after winning the Super Bowl. I donated the gloves of that year to start up my foundation. So this was back in 2009 when I started my foundation. It took flight in New York, 2011, once I got traded to the New York Jets. But the benefit of sickle cell is to help kids fight this battle that's nonstop right now. It's ongoing. It's changing so many lives. It's taken away from families' abilities to be great, and that touches me to my heart, because without the opportunity of the NFL, without my hard work and dedication and sacrifice to not being there with my son every day, to making a better living for him and being able to provide medical support it was very tough. But knowing what most of the families are going through right now, having to deal with patients, with family members being sick with sickle cell, it's a grind. And not every family can afford to take off of work, can afford to take their kids to the best hospitals, can afford to get the best medication for them. And it brings a toll down on these families. And with the Third and Long Foundation, we are here to help benefit, those families and help put them in the right direction. And eventually, my ultimate goal is to build sickle cell centers so that they can go and get their everyday treatments and not have to worry so much about how much it costs and where to go and things like that.
Yeah, and absolutely. It takes a lot to play in the NFL. It takes a lot to play football in general. But a lot of guys, after they're done, they just pack it up. They retire. They do what they do. After football life is over, you're progressing. You're going back to school. You have a family, and now you're obviously doing this phenomenal thing. Now you have, a fundraiser coming up in Pittsburgh this fall, and you also have, like a memorabilia going on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh man, it's getting hectic around here lately. I've been part of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and excuse my French to all the Jet fans that are listening, but that's home. I'll forever be a Jet. I keep my jersey, my helmet, my magazines. All those things are on display as a New York Jet because I spent 4 great years there. But the event that's going on in Pittsburgh, August 19th. Myself and the Third and Long Foundation, we're throwing out the first pitch to the Washington Wild Things, minor league baseball team, and we're raising money for the cause. We're doing the memorabilia auction online with all proceeds benefiting, the Third and Long Foundation. And October 10th, we are having a Strikes for Sickle Cell event in Pittsburgh as well. And as you can see, I use 10-10 as the day to do my event because I wore the number 10. And it only makes it right. So hopefully this year I get an opportunity to announce my retirement as a Pittsburgh Steeler. And hopefully one day I can retire a Jet as well.
Hey, that's awesome. But Santonio, don't retire just yet because the Jets wide receiving core is in shambles. So if you can still suit up the cleats, you might need to don the green and white again.
Man, if it wasn't for this crazy injury that I suffered, man, back in 2012, excuse me, it kind of took a toll on my life, man. It took my love away from the game. It didn't take the passion away. I would love to come out and play if I could, but the opportunity for me to be a stay-at-home dad and raise a family, I'm very thankful for this opportunity that the NFL gave me.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. It sounds like you.
But if a team does call, you need me to come and work out, I will suit up the cleats. I'm about 185 right now. I will suit up the cleats and see what I got.
I like it. Yeah, hey, everything happens for a reason. It sounds like you're doing some great stuff. But I'm pretty positive that a one-legged Santonio Holmes could do some damage for the Jets right now. Looking at their current wide receiving core, Santonio.
And they'll come along. It takes a lot to be a starting receiver in the NFL. The playbooks are thick. The competition is high. The mistakes, man, you just try not to make any, and they just tend to pile up as a young guy. And another piece of advice to those young guys, man, stay in those books, learn the entire playbook, learn the entire plays, play calling information, and don't just study, your position. When where everyone is playing on the football field, it allows your job to be that much easier. You can understand why you're on the backside of this particular play call, why you're on the slide of this particular play call, why you're in motioning for this particular play call, because everybody's position can always interchange, and each one of us can run the same route just from a different position. And when you learn that entire playbook by every position being on the field, it elevates your game, that much better.
Yeah, I mean, look, Santonio, obviously when the average fan, if they watch you, can see the physical ability that you had, the size, the speed, the ability to catch. But I think one of the most underrated, aspects of your game was your, it sounds like you were studying the playbooks all the time, your mental ability for the game. I mean, that's something that a lot of fans don't take into account, especially from the wide receiver positions, how many different routes and plays and, things you need to do on a certain play. But bringing it back to your foundation, how can our listeners help? How can they donate? How can they help your foundation specifically?
Please go and check me out at thirdandlongfoundation.org or Santonio Holmes Facebook page, and you can make contributions and donations. We're starting to build around the NFL. We're starting to build, around the places that matter the most to the people who support the NFL the most, and those are the sick and the shut in. And we want to give these people opportunities as well to be a part of history, to be a part of something that they will not get an opportunity to do. And it's about advancing someone else's life. God has given me the ability to shine upon the Pittsburgh Steelers and their fan base. And my entire family and those that supported me since high school and those that supported me in college. And now you think about what else can you do? You continue your legacy. You continue being legendary. So you give these fans something that they will never have. You give them opportunity. And that's all we ask for in life is an opportunity. Those that are incapable, they still need an opportunity, just an opportunity to meet someone, to smile at someone, to shake their hand, to be able to take a picture and say, I was talking to this guy, or I hugged this guy, or this person gave me an autograph. Those things change lives. And a part of who Tone Time is in the history moving forward, this is who I want to be and what I want to do, is to be legendary and help continue changing lives around the world.
Santonio, that's awesome stuff, man. I mean, look, obviously you had your success on the field, and you're using that platform to help others and make yourself a name off the field. Awesome stuff, man. Santonio Holmes, where can our listeners follow you on Twitter, Instagram? I know you give out the link to your foundation, but just you specifically, where can they follow you? Keep in touch with what you're doing off the field, and then obviously you still promote your charity events. Just because our listeners are big on the Twitter, so they love to get our players' Twitters. But what is your at on Twitter?
I'm at Tone Time 10 for Facebook, for Instagram, and for Twitter. So it's all attached to the same. Tone Time 10. Keep it simple. All
right, I like it.
Love it.
Yeah, I noticed you took out the M's in your bio and your name for Michigan. All right, really quickly before we end the interview, are you predicting a national championship for Ohio State this year?
I can't predict it, but I will be excited to see my guys this year. Urban Meyer, he won't sell himself short, and he won't sell his team short. This is why they compete during the offseason. This is why they are ranked in the tops in the country every year, is because we believe in something up here. And the only thing we believe in is whooping the team up north's ass and winning the national championship. So on our agenda, that's on our agenda, is come November, whatever date that is, it's circled big on the calendar in red instead of in yellow on our calendar in our locker room. This is it. This is the day that matters, And I'm pretty sure it's been in those guys' minds since first day of training camp.
Our Michigan fans are not going to be happy to hear that, but really firing up the Ohio State crowd. Santonio, awesome stuff, man. We really enjoyed having you on. You're a great person. Sounds like you're a great father, and good luck with all that you're doing off the field. We'll make sure to continue and promote all the stuff you're doing.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having me on. Hey, Fireman Ed, Woody Johnson, Jets, Jets. Let's go, baby. Let's have a great year this year, man.
Awesome stuff, Santonio Holmes. Thank you for taking time out of your day, man.
Thanks, guys, for having me on, man. Have a blessed one.
You too. One final JTS.
Yeah, gotta
from
love
Santonio Holmes. I love it. Awesome stuff there from Santonio.
That was a great interview. That's up there with Kelvin's. That's up there with Kelvin's. It may be my number one. I loved his enthusiasm. I love how he was just plain honest with us. I love what he's doing off the field now. Going back to college, I mean, he doesn't have to do that. I mean, I'm sure he can do whatever he wants now, being done in the NFL. But, he's choosing, to be a father. Sounds like he's being a good one. He's doing amazing work off the field. So I'm really happy for Santonio, what he's done, off the field. And, on a personal level, I got to interview a childhood hero today. Technically still a child, but a childhood hero, addressed me today. And when you just sit back and think about it, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can follow his foundation, www.thirdandlongfoundation.org. I know he already shouted it out, but please go donate, help, anything you can do. Santonio is a great guy, and he's done some fantastic work off the field. So please go out and help him. And as you mentioned, he's at ToneTime10 on Twitter. Give him a follow if you're not already. All right. Well, and I'm glad he gave the last JTS Jets.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, because he was one of those guys that for a few years. I mean, I have his jersey. I mean, it's probably a few sizes too small now.
Yeah.
But he was one of those guys that was one of my favorite players for the team. It was sad to see him go, and as he talked about, that injury, really hurt his career. But it sounds like it opened up the door to a lot of other stuff for him. So everything happens for a reason. But Santonio, big thank you to him for coming on the show. All right, Kyle, let's talk about some Jets. Obviously, last week we did not have any football to talk about. This week we do.
Yeah.
You've been giving some scathing hot takes on this, this Jets-Titans game. I mean, just really dumb takes, to be honest. But we'll get into them. I'll tell you how it is.
Passive-aggressive hate from Ben is just lovely.
Oh, I have my reasons, Mr. Fahey. Let's get into it. Obviously, the Jets played the Titans in a real barn burner, maybe the most exciting game of 2017 so far. 7-3. One opening drive touchdown and nothing else. But the Jets won. That's all that matters. And the one thing I will say, the defense looked very, very good. And, it was an injured Mariota, and then it was all their backups. Yes, and, are the Titans that deep of a team? No. But you have to,
Well, they're a good team.
Well, let's say this. I mean, look, you can't say anything off the preseason. I'm not sure if this is 100% correct, but I'm pretty sure like the 2007 Detroit Lions, who ended up going 0-16 with like 4-0 in the preseason. So you can't judge anything off the preseason. Obviously, the Jets won their first game last year against Jacksonville, but they looked good. The defense did, at least. I thought one of the things the Jets have been lacking, despite their very good defensive line, is getting constant pressure, and they were getting it from multiple levels of that defense. You saw Jamal Adams playing some safety. Obviously, he didn't get playing some linebacker. I mean, obviously, he didn't get a sack, but you saw some guys moving around, some different formations. Obviously, everything's pretty vanilla right now, but I was really happy how Josh Martin played. I mean, we will go through our players of the game and whatnot, who needs to improve. But I was really happy with that whole front seven there, with getting 8 sacks. The secondary had some great moments, particularly Ronald Martin's one-handed interception. Dexter McDougal looked fantastic. So that whole defense looked great. No, excuse me. And again, it's preseason. You can't make any judgments off of it. Very vanilla offense. But if that's the type of defense we're getting, even just a sliver of that, I think that is a very good defense. And it's, I predicted this defense to be good, and I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm right, because one preseason game. But they allowed, I believe it was under 100 yards total offense, I'm pretty sure. So defense looked good. On the offensive side of the ball, offensive line did not look that good. They definitely struggled at times. I thought as the game went on, they looked a little better. I thought towards, the end. So, I mean, again, you're going up against, 5th-string defensive linemen.
Yeah.
But again, that first team, I believe they allowed a few sacks there. I mean, Josh McCown got sacked, but then had the bogus hit below the hit. He got hit, around the legs, and that's illegal. And then Hackenberg got sacked. So the offensive line didn't look that great. Running backs, I guess we're doing a position breakdown.
Yeah.
Running backs looked. I was bummed about Elijah McGuire.
They looked like third and fourth stringers. They looked
well,
like
I'll say this. Elijah McGuire, a 6th-round rookie, was treated like a star. I mean, he played 2 series.
Yep.
I mean, Jordan Jenkins played the entire game. Elijah McGuire played 2 series, didn't play anything else. And, he looked good in those 2 series. I mean, both his long 15-yard runs were called back for holding, but it didn't look, obviously every holding affects the play, but, it looks like he showed some stuff, and then they just took him out. He didn't even play. It wasn't like he was hurt. They were just resting him, which is fine, I guess. And then you saw, a little bit of Romar Morris and Jordan Taubman. I was looking forward to seeing a little bit more of Romar. Didn't necessarily show what he does in practice, but again, one preseason game, a struggling offensive line. He'll have plenty of other chances to prove his worth. We're getting to the quarterbacks. We got a few more. We got one more position group. The wide receivers, tight ends. From the tight end position, I thought they looked solid. What can you expect of vanilla offense? But I believe Austin Sperry-Jenkins had a catch. He was open on a few routes. He was doing some good stuff. The receiver position. Let's talk about this, and don't worry, we're getting to your much-awaited cold takes on the quarterbacks. But
I'm serving them up.
Sure. The wide receiver position, let's talk about it. Robbie Anderson, first drive, 50-yard bomb from Josh McCown, looked good. He's fast. He can fly. I worry about him being a number 1 wide receiver. I think we all do. Can he go up against number 1 wide, corners? But he proved a little bit of that today. And, is it sad to think about, Robbie's playing it great. If we still had Quincy, this wide receiving core would be looking pretty good, like we all predicted. Yeah, that's kind of depressing to think about. But look, the Jets got to move on from Quincy. Not in the long run, just for this year. Put it behind you. He's injured. He's out for the year. Guys like Robbie Anderson and all these young guys are going to have to step up. I think Jalen Marshall might make the team now. As a punt returner, he's not that good, but although Kyle Smith, who guest hosted the show last week, is not a big fan of his, I still think they should give him, I still think they should give him another chance. I think he'll be on the team this year. As a receiver, he made some tough catches last year. Look, he had some drops, yes. Most rookies do. You heard Santonio talk about how hard it is to be a young receiver in the NFL. But look, he had that great touchdown against Miami that gets forgotten, but that was the game-winning touchdown if the Jets special teams held up their bargain. He had a clutch catch against the Bills on week 2. I believe he had a touchdown against the Bills week 17. But, he showed some stuff, and then in this game he had a nice, back shoulder curl route, I guess, in the first drive. That was a nice catch. So I think you look forward to watching him. I think he could be a very solid slot receiver. I don't know if he could be an amazing 1 or 2 receiver unless he significantly improves. But as far as the slot, he's not a bad guy to have in the slot. It seems like he can make some of those, catch and traffic plays. I've been talking for a bit, so I'll give you we're getting to the quarterbacks, but just strictly with the receivers or anything else. What else did you see? Peak caught a touchdown. Anderson, we talked about. Any other young receivers that stood out to you, or any other players? Just your brief, just the surface stuff, Kyle, because we're going to dive in to our MVPs and whatever, and the quarterbacks. But just overarching thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I thought overall, for the first preseason game, I thought the defense played well. But then at the end, there's a lot of talent on that team, and, I'm expecting them to play well, at least the defensive line. The secondary, seemed a lot hungrier, and I think the whole team seemed a lot hungrier. My only worry about that is it because this is the first time, they've played football in how many months now, and, all the negativity coming at them for the past months, even then. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I think the defense played really well. I was happy with it. That Titans O-line is nothing to sneeze at. It's considered one of the best in the NFL, or definitely becoming one of the best. Taylor Lewan, Taylor Lewan, and Ben, help me out here. All right, thanks a lot, Ben.
I'm gonna let you struggle.
Yeah, let me choke here.
Let me think. Titans offensive line. Hold on.
They drafted him. He punched some dude in the bar. And
what? Hey, yeah, I guess you're right. Oh, okay, here we go. Titans have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Oh, boy. Taylor Lewan, Quentin Spain, Ben Jones, Josh Klein, Jack Conklin.
Jack Conklin, that's it. Yep, that's who I was thinking of. So, and Ben Jones is good center too. I think Leo beat. Now I don't know who necessarily played, but just looking at this graphic for the 2017, it would have been Quentin Spain, the left guard. And again, I did not do an in-depth research into the Titans, but he was beating some. Leo looked good.
Mo, I mean, got a pressure early on at the beginning, their first defensive play. I mean, Mo was in the backfield, which was nice to see. Sorry, I cut you off there. You can continue with your thoughts. We're getting into the quarterbacks. This is going to be a long 15-minute heated debate, but
yeah. You brought up Mo. Mo was out there running around like what was it? The first play of the game, it ultimately ended up being a completion. There were like 15 yards, but Mo was chasing down Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is probably the fastest quarterback off the top of my head.
That's not too crazy to say.
I think Tyrod's a better running quarterback, but I might take Marcus Mariota in a foot race. But, it seemed like Mo was healthy. And I've never questioned Mo's motor. It's just, a matter of health. And if he's healthy, that's an all-pro level defensive end that, we didn't have last year. So that's a good sign. Dexter McDougal, he played well for the most part. He totally messed up on the interception, though, where Ronald Martin, had the one-handed interception. That was definitely his guy. He messed up in coverage. He bit on the other route. Luckily, Ronald Martin was able to make a play. Hopefully, we get that corrected, obviously, as I said, for his preseason game. But I was really excited about the defense. The first-team offense, obviously working without our best running backs, which huge, takeaway from the offense. It looked good. I said it on Jet Nation Radio a couple weeks ago now. I basically said, if Robbie can beat the number one corner one or two times in a game, and just one of these quarterbacks gets it to him, that works for me. Like, I will take that from. He had a few
times last year where he just. I mean, let's be honest. We've talked about this. How the Jets have not had a guy who can beat a defense over the top for a long time. Robbie Anderson is that guy. I mean, I don't think he got enough credit last year, but this guy is unbelievably fast.
Yeah.
Deceptively fast. I mean, it wasn't one of those guys where he got him out of college and he's like, Dree Archer's 4.3 or John Ross 4.2, whatever he ran, 4.95 or whatever he ran, or 4.95. It was like a 4. What did John Ross run? It was a 2.95 or something. 4.295.
4.24.
4.24. That's what it was. He's not one of those guys highly touted coming out of Temple. But he definitely last year there were times I remember 2 against the Seahawks. There were plenty more where he just completely burned the number one corner. I mean, look, was he better here's why I thought he was better as a number 2 on the outside. I mean, he could even be your third best receiver, but on the number 2 at the outside, he's going up against the second best corner. I mean, that's just a mismatch. He's always going to have that.
He's always going to win.
Until he hits
Sherman. He can beat Richard Sherman like a drum, like he did in that Seattle game twice last year, except nobody got him the ball. That's okay. If I could just get one touchdown out of him per game.
Just one catch for one touchdown, 60 yards, I guess. But, I mean, look, yes, preferably you would have had Nunwa going up against your number one corner. He can do a lot of those, red zone, 10, 50, he's your number one guy. And Anderson's just your big play guy. But, look, he's not a bad option to have a guy that can beat a defense. They're going to have to game plan for that. What I worry about is defenses are going to game plan for that, and that will open up other avenues. But they're going to play back. They're going to play back, as you noticed the Titans did for the rest of the game. The Jets weren't able to get many deep shots in, and then that's going to come down to Robbie. Can Robbie run other routes? And then not only that, let's look at as you mentioned, the running backs, the tight ends, the other receivers. Can they run some of these underneath routes? Because as Christian Hackenberg said at the game, I'm just going to take what the defense gives me. The Jets are going to have to do a lot of that this year. If Robbie Anderson can stay healthy and play like, obviously it's one play he had in that game. He had a few plays, but if he's doing that on a consistent basis where he's burning defenses, they're going to have to adjust for that. That'll open a lot of things up in the middle, short, passing for Christian Hackenberg or whoever's under center. And it also gives, routes like the curl route become just textbook for the Jets. I mean, if Robbie Anderson, if defense has to play back, Robbie, as he did, I think 2 or 3 times during this past game, which just runs right up, against a defense who's playing back and then curls. And if the quarterback gets there on the timing route, if they have that chemistry, I mean, look, you can basically build an entire offense around Robbie Anderson's skill set. The problem becomes if he can't run that route or if he gets hurt, then the Jets are in trouble because we don't have.
Maybe we're going to be calling Santonio.
unless there's another guy on this team that can do that or another guy who can do something else. But right now, Robbie Anderson, that's our big play. And obviously, having Nunwa would be great too. But right now, that's the one thing that gives me some hope for this Jets offense is that defenses are going to have to adjust for the deep ball, and I think that's going to open up some stuff for Hackenberg, or McCown.
It's McCown.
Let's get into that. Hold on. First of all, let's get into that. Christian Hackenberg.
Yep.
Your immediate thoughts on him? I know you didn't love his performance, and you were kind of being, I don't know, I couldn't find the right words, but on Twitter you were being very. It sounded like you had an agenda there, Kyle. I'm going to be honest with some of the stuff you were saying. It was an agenda.
I wasn't high on Petty either. I didn't think Petty played well.
You were talking about how Petty's the future, and now you watched him and you went, Petty. I can find the episode and the texts. You're saying how great Petty would be, but I'm just saying, look, Hackenberg went 18 for 25, 127 yards. On the stat sheet, that looks pretty good. But
that's the problem. Like, a lot of Jets fans, they're not going to go in, they're not going to watch the film, and they're not going to see what that really was.
That right there, Kyle. That right there. You're calling the average Jets fan, like, dumb. I think that
they make uneducated statements.
I'm going to give you a little advice.
They make uneducated statements.
Don't criticize your audience. All our listeners now are just going to ignore your well, yeah, the average fan thinks this is good because I'm Kyle Fahey, official member of the NFL media. Kyle, come on.
That's a true statement.
You're not an official I signed up on a website. Now I'm the official. No.
Have you gotten it, Ben? Have you gotten it?
Kyle, anybody could go in and just, my name is Ben Blessington, and I, run a podcast.
It sounds like you're jealous, Ben.
I'll do it right now. I will have it in by the end of the show.
Well, I mean, I registered under the Jet Take, so it's likely you will get in, yeah.
All right, well, then fine. I'm just saying, Kyle, come on. Don't, to say that the average NFL fan.
What's your argument here?
All right, you want my take on Hackenberg? Well, here's the thing that I don't disagree with some of the stuff you said. The big thing I disagree, and you haven't said it so far, but you can go to your tweets. You say, well, he shows no improvement to me. It's like, did you watch that? The average fan would say, did you watch that Jets-Eagles game last year, Kyle? Because if you're the fan that watches all this tape, you would certainly notice that Hackenberg couldn't hit the ocean, as one former coach said, or current coach, you don't know. Come on, Kyle. I mean, he definitely showed some improvement. He was much more accurate, much more decisive, and you can make all the arguments, well, he's throwing a lot of predetermined short passes. It's like, yeah, he's taking what the defense is giving him. The Titans were playing a lot of back coverage. He talked about this, how he wanted to take some shots, but he's not going to force anything. That's part of the reason he's been taking some sacks. I'll take sacks instead of interceptions. That's a problem that a lot of Jets quarterbacks have had. Geno Smith, where they don't want to take the sacks, they throw it, they force
Geno
it.
Smith stinking it up for the Giants is just the funniest thing.
He didn't necessarily stink it up. He was playing nice until he threw
a really bad interception.
It was so to get. I don't want to get too off topic, but it was so bad that it didn't. I don't honestly think it was that much of his fault. I think there was supposed to be somebody there.
Somebody ran the wrong route.
Yeah, it looked like there was supposed to be somebody there. Somebody probably crossing the middle, or that guy was supposed to come on a comeback. Still was in traffic, but it's whatever. Anyways, back to the point. And you got me off topic. Anyways, yeah, Christian Hackenberg, I'm happy with him, taking what the defense is giving him. That the West Coast offense is built on yards after the catch. Those 5-yard passes that turn into, 15, 20-yard plays, that's what it's built on. Hackenberg demonstrated that he could do that. He could manage the game. It looks like he's not going to lose the game for them. Is he going to win it at this point? No. And I will say this, is he ready? No. Could he be by the end of the preseason? Who knows? I mean, he could go in this Lions game and light it up for 3 touchdowns, and then I might change my tune. Maybe he's, ready. And to compare him to McCown, yes, to McCown to have a good drive. If the Jets took him out right after that. If McCown were to play a few more series, I think you'd see that Hackenberg is actually right around where McCown is. Maybe McCown's a little ahead, but I mean, McCown had the great play to Anderson. I'll give him that. And he threw some. I'm not trying to take too much away from McCown. I'm just saying he played one series, had the good series. But again, if that's not the McCown you're getting every drive. You got good McCown there. He's very confident in what he does. But if he was still playing in the second quarter, I think you'd see some interceptions or whatever. Maybe that's not a bright statement, but I would stick by that. I don't think McCown is the next Tom Brady at 38 years old. I liked what I saw from him, from Hackenberg. What can you expect? I mean, I'm not expecting him to be a Pro Bowler immediately. I think that was a huge stepping stone, and I think that's something he can grow on. I mean, he was only 11 days into training camp? I mean, that's when the first game was. He's in a new system. It's just, look, give it time, Kyle. I think he'll be starting by October. maybe earlier. I think that was exactly what you needed to see. I know it was a lot of predetermined reads, but he did make some reads towards the end there. He looked good. I mean, that last drive I think could have ended in a touchdown if him and Harrison didn't miscommunicate that snap. But again, new center, So I actually wasn't, it wasn't the flashiest performances, but he made some nice throws. He got the ball where it had to be. He read the defense. He managed the game, and he took what the defense gave him. So you can criticize all you want, and you also have to remember, and yes, you can say he's going up against backup, a backup defense. He's throwing to guys that might be, bagging groceries by the time it's November. So, I'm not saying all those guys, but some of those guys he was throwing to towards the end. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I don't know. I liked what I saw from Hackenberg. I thought he read the defense well, and I'm expecting him to grow off this performance. Now you can give your scathing hot take on why the average fan is wrong and why Hackenberg was terrible.
Yeah, you can't have him throwing 5-yard routes the whole game, panicking in the pocket.
Panicking? Did you watch the game? He wasn't panicking.
Ben, go check my thread. I just tagged you on a great
I watched
example.
your thread. You say he panicked. The only one I can panic. I know. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Only look. Were there other times where he moved around? Yes. The only time where I can vividly recall him moving out of the pocket a little early. It was a third down. I think it was on his first or second drive. And he ended up getting 2 yards.
Wide open ASJ in the middle of the field.
No, you said wide open. I love how you said wide. I watched it.
I watched it wide open
towards the end of the route. So right when Hackenberg's about to get pressure. We obviously this is a podcast. There's no visual element here unless we can
retweet it on the Jet Take. We can.
So basically, because I believe Connor Hughes tweeted out a photo of it. So basically, he is
open right now, and there's nobody in his face.
Hold on. Kyle, please be quiet for a second. Okay, he had Robbie Anderson coming on the seam. By the way, so to set the it's like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 13, whatever it is.
3rd and 8.
3rd and 8. Okay, I was right the first time. 3rd and 8. Pressure's coming. The offensive line doesn't do a great job. So pressure's basically coming from, he's just enclosing on him. So he has a few seconds. ASJ's coming over the middle from left to right. He's probably 4 yards ahead of it, 4 yards away. So just, it would be a quick dump off, and then maybe ASJ could get the remaining 4 yards. It's possible. I'm not saying he shouldn't have done that. And then he also has Robbie going up the seam, and he has, a guy, ASJ's kind of beat his man, so he's open, but the guy who's guarding Robbie on the seam, and, Robbie's, let's say 6 yards away, but he's running on the seam from the slot to the right. I know this is hard to follow visually. Basically, there's a guy there who has to make the decision. Do I follow Robbie on the seam?
I don't see Robbie on the seam. I see Chris Harper on the seam. I see Robbie on the outside.
It might be Chris Harper. I don't know who it is. Go look at Connor Hughes. He tweeted out the photo. It might be Harper.
It looks like Chris Harper. He runs up the seam.
I thought it was Robbie, but it might be Chris Harper. Whoever it is. There's a linebacker who has to make the decision. Do I follow Harper on the seam route and go, up the field, and then that would give room to ASJ to come over the middle, or do I go after ASJ and then maybe Hackenberg hits Harper, but then you can't really see, but there's a safety there. So anyway, the guy ends up following.
Harper goes up the seam initially.
Yeah, he does. But at the point that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kyle. It's unnecessary information because basically, yes, you could argue that instead of, you have to remember this happens all in the span of 3 seconds for a young quarterback. Was this one of the mistakes he made? He could have thrown to ASJ for that but the one thing you have to remember is if you watch the play, yes, does the guy end up following Harper or Robbie, whoever it is? Yes. But if Hackenberg turns and throws to ASJ, the guy's right there. And, I don't know. I don't think ASJ would have gotten it unless ASJ breaks that tackle. ASJ would have to at least break a tackle, maybe 2, to get the first. But basically, Hackenberg decides not to risk maybe throwing an interception because that guy's kind of right there. He runs out of the pocket.
He really wasn't, though. Like, ASJ was
runs open. Out of the pocket. Well, but Kyle,
he shouldn't have ran him out of the pocket.
I agree, Kyle. In hindsight's 20/20, Kyle. You could look back and say, look, he should have turned around and thrown it to ASJ across the field. But it's just one play. Anyways, I'm gonna let you give your take. Yeah. I'm gonna disagree with like half the things you're gonna say, but I'll let you finish your take.
That's what we do.
I'll let you finish your take, and then I'm gonna chime in, and we're gonna get to some callers. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. So like the next play in my thread, another great example. It's the play. If you watched the game, you saw it. The deep throw, well covered by the corner. I don't know the corner off the top of my head. Sorry. He drops back. He's staring the whole time at the deep route. I'm trying to see the receiver. I can't really tell who it is right now, but he's just staring. He's not even looking at any other route, and it looks like hitch routes. I may be wrong, but both the tight ends come open, and he has absolutely no pressure in his face. But because he was so predetermined on the deep route, it's number 14. I don't know who number 14 is off the top of my head.
God, I know it. Frankie Hammond, I think.
Frankie Hammond? Okay, yeah, you're right.
I might be wrong, but I think it's Frankie
Hammond. No, that's right. Yeah, so he just throws it deep to Frankie Hammond. He didn't even look at any of his other routes.
Okay.
I mean...
All right, sorry. I'm sorry. Keep going. I have, again, something to chime in there, but I'll let you keep going.
I mean, he had great protection. The running back comes up, makes a good block, check and release, and he's just so predetermined on the throw that he misses, 5 yards right there. And I know I've been critical of those 5-yard checkdowns, but in this scenario where they were giving him the opportunity to make his own read, he was just predetermined set on a route that he thought was favorable, and the dude just wasn't open. I
will bite my tongue here. But he chooses him pre-snap. Yes, you're right. Basically, he sees the coverage before as he lines up, which this is something Hackenberg, to be honest, this is something Hackenberg was not doing last summer. He reads the pre-snap defense, and he says, look, I think I'm going to have Hammond, who I know is fast, on the deep route. He takes the snap, and yes, could he have gotten the 5 yards like he's gotten all game, take him with the defense, get him, that's what he's been doing. Instead, he takes the shot, and yeah, I mean, look, if that's Robbie Anderson, I think that could be a big gain, because, I mean, he did... There was a play there.
The dude was shut down.
There was a play. But here's the thing. Again, this goes back to my point. Frankie Hammond isn't a developed, polished wide receiver. Could Hammond have run a better route? Could Hammond have shaken the guy? Could Hammond run faster? Maybe.
But
yes,
he didn't.
Right.
And he was making the read.
But at the time Hackenberg throws that ball, Kyle, he can't make that. So if you realize the time, you're right. Maybe he shouldn't have made this pre-snap read, but he would have been open if this is. Let's just assume this is Robbie Anderson with his deep ball abilities. You look at the way, the time that Hackenberg throws it. When Hackenberg throws it, Hammond is maybe 10 yards away and could theoretically break free, and that'd be a great throw. I don't know. You can't nitpick.
But there's a lot of.
I'm not saying this is an amazing performance from Hackenberg, but I liked what I saw. He took what the defense gave him. He played relatively well. I was fine with it. You're going too nitpicky. Let's see this game against the Lions.
Right.
Let's see the game against the Giants.
I'll give you what I liked.
I
understand I am being negative. I understand I am being negative, but I'm not hating on Christian Hackenberg. I'm just telling you what I see. He had that really, really, really good drive where he actually looked like a quarterback. He was actually making reads, and I was good with it. Like, I put out 4 plays in a row. Okay. It starts off, on the first drive, 2nd and 10, towards the end zone. There's nobody open. He makes his own read, pressure in his face, finds his check down. I'm okay with a check down if he is making the read. I'm not okay with a check down if you were just so predetermined and so flustered in the pocket where that's just where you automatically throw it without even really looking. You kind of just know the area he's in. We saw that with the play to the running back. I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Romar Morris, where he immediately got lit up by the linebacker because Hack didn't even look. He kind of just threw it because he got flustered. He needs to fix that. So a couple plays later, this is another good choice here. There's pressure on his back. The pocket, it's starting to disappear. He just finds the open route here and makes a really good play. And we'll retweet this all in the Jet Take. I know it's hard to follow. But there's literally a dude on his back, and he just finds Chris Harper in the middle of the field. Chris Harper fights for the extra yard. That was a good choice by Hackenberg. Pressure on his face. The dude could have strip-sacked him by pretty easily if it was like half a second later. But Hack was able, to get the ball out. He zipped it out. It was a good throw. Next play. It was a crossing route, basically, but he was able to make the read himself. I think he identified the wide receiver on the linebacker, immediately knew it. I think he put the ball a little behind the receiver. If he would have let him a little bit more, I think it could have been a much bigger play. But he read it. He saw the mismatch. He read it himself. He dropped back in the pocket. He evaluated his options, and he chose what he thought was best. That's what I want to see from him. I don't want to see predetermined routes anymore. This one might have been the best, play of the game for him. He read the coverage really well. The ball was a little high. It was the outside catch to the sideline. Who's number 10, Ben? Who's number 10?
Off the top, I can't even. Gosh, I know. Hold on. These
receivers who are like you're right, they probably won't be here. But it was corner route, I would probably say.
Hold on. I'll figure.
You know the one I'm talking about, where you hit him. Number 10 on the outside.
If I was looking at him, I think I could name him. Number 10. Where the heck is number 10? Keep talking. I'll find it. I'll let you. I'm on.
Nonetheless, it was a really nice throw by Hackenberg. He sat back. He read. There was some pressure in his face, but it was just a great throw, and he was reading the coverage. It was his choice. Like I said, this was a really good drive. The next play, and I think this was this was the last positive play. This drive was actually really good for him. It was one of the best moments of the game.
It's Marquise Wilson. That's what it is. Yeah, if I was wrong, I could nail it. Yeah.
Yeah, Marquise Wilson. Okay, first off, this play, he did not get the playoff. I don't know why they didn't call the flag, but that clock was at 0 for solid couple seconds. Just makes great reads. There's like a crossing route that cuts in between Jason Vandeleur, or however you say that dude's name. He's like on, a tight end, I want to say like a curved end route. I don't know the term for that. But he sits back, he reads the coverage, he makes the throw himself, and he led the dude. He had 4 plays that really stood out to me that were really good. They all came from one drive. Now the clock, that's a problem. We saw that a couple of times. I think he used 2 timeouts. In this play, there definitely should have been a flag. I mean, the clock is at 0, simple as day, before I think he's even up to the line, which is pretty bad. But there were some things to like, but I just didn't like everybody coming out and saying, oh, look how much he's improved, when, most of these passes, most of these completions, most of these yards were just,
I'll say this. You were very critical of Hackenberg, but you were also very, very, very satisfied with Mitch Trubisky's performance. And
Mitch Trubisky had a great performance.
You have to look at it. You have to look at both. They're both essentially rookies. I think you can lump in Hackenberg with these sets of rookies, since Hackenberg literally played nothing. And although Hackenberg would disagree with that statement, apparently, was it Morton that said he's practically a rookie? I believe it was. Yeah. Okay. Look, he's getting comfortable. He's just getting comfortable. He's setting his feet. He looks a lot more accurate, a lot more decisive. That's all you can ask. Kyle, I agree with you that did he have a lot of predetermined reads? Yes, but I think there is definitely a huge step up. And to say that there is no improvement whatsoever from last year is just so not right, Kyle. And to say, well, the average fan wouldn't see this. I agree that you're making some great points. That look, a lot of these stuff is predetermined, but I'll take some predetermined reads from Hackenberg. You have to be honest. Yeah, is it boring? Is it like, well, it's a predetermined read? It's like, yeah, but if it's getting 6 yards at play, I don't care. I don't care if he's dinking dunking system quarterback this year. But if he's getting touchdowns and he's driving in, look, did he do that this game? No. But if as he gets more comfortable, I think you're going to see a lot more improvement. And
here's my problem with this, though.
Well, defend this statement. You've said everything really. You can add whatever you're going to add here, but please defend your analysis that you're saying he showed no improvement. Because let's be honest, Kyle, the Jets were trying to give him predetermined routes last year, and he couldn't do that. He was hitting guys accurately, giving them a chance to move. I was happy with his performance. A low average for yards per throw, but I was overall happy with his performance. Last word, and then we're going to get to some callers.
I don't think it's improvement if this is going to be picked apart by defenses in the NFL. He goes out there and he runs an offense like this, and this applies to the whole offense. I'm calling out John Morton already. If this is what
it's all vanilla, Kyle. It's all vanilla.
Here's
vanilla
the thing,
offense.
though. I don't know how much more complex it's going to be. I think it may be a little more with Josh McCown and Matt Forte, Bilal Powell, but I think we saw the extent of it. I think we saw what most of it's going to be. That's really what our offense is going to be. And if Hackenberg's in there, a guy who's not very confident, a guy who has no experience, defenses are going to pick that off. And we want to talk about confidence. That confidence is going to go down the tubes. Because those 5-yard out routes, and the one I got into an argument with Connor Rogers and Jay about with Robbie Anderson, where he quote-unquote recognized Robbie Anderson. No, he didn't. The second he snapped it, he looked right at him. Any solid corner, Malcolm Butler, Stephon Gilmore, guys who we have to play 2 times this year, they're going to see that. They're going to recognize that. They're going to pick that off, and there's nobody who's going to be able to stop them unless Robbie can chase them down, which I doubt because I don't think he's that strong. That could happen. That could happen very easily. And not everybody's a third-string defensive lineman who's not going to be able to chase you down. Cam Wake's going to be able to chase you down. Gerald Hodges is going to be able to chase you down. I'm trying to think of fast, players in our division. Him running out of the pocket, missing ASJ, those things, that's what bothers me. And I understand, he couldn't hit the ocean last year. So is he improved in accuracy? Yes. But do not tell me overall as a quarterback he comes out and as some Jets fans are saying, we definitely got our future. I completely disagree with that. And if you think he's improved like that, I think you're wrong. That's just my opinion.
All right. Well, let's get to some callers. We'll discuss this and more. We're going to do our first caller of the night, a bit of an unknown.
I think it's Scott.
We'll clarify this. But anyways, thank you to 516. You're on the line. Really quickly, what is your name and what are we talking about?
What's up, boys? This is your fellow TOJ digital comrade, Scott Mason of Play Like a Jet. How are you?
We're good, Scott. How about yourself? Yeah.
I'm doing good. I got to say, before I get into a couple of things on the turn on the Jets side, I'm more on Ben's side here. Kyle, I get the points that you're making, but the fact of the matter is, man, and this is just the truth, and, Connor pointed this out, and Phil Simms said it, and it's been said by several other people. I think it's a bit of a straw man what you were just saying as far as Jets fans saying we definitely got our future. I mean, other than a handful of people that are huge Hackenberg fans, I think most people are going into this with cautious optimism in the sense that I think most people understand, and David Aiken over at Turn on the Jets has made this point many times, he's a ball of clay. They picked Hackenberg, and the idea was they saw some traits that they liked, and they were going to rebuild him absolutely from scratch. And so that's what they're doing. And so last year, obviously, was the year that they kind of tore it all down and started to rebuild. And then this year, that's what they're doing. They're taking baby steps with him. And that's why what you saw on Saturday was more or less him doing the predetermined reads. And it was just a matter of, okay, let's make sure he's comfortable. Let's make sure that he can fire some short, accurate passes, and that he's decisive and doesn't make crazy mistakes. I don't think they were expecting him to make any complicated reads. It didn't seem like he was asked to do that. And I think that there were a lot of situations there where, if he were a more experienced quarterback, he might have seen some of the things that you're pointing out, Kyle, but he wasn't really asked to do that. They're really starting him from scratch on training wheels. Remember, this offense has only been together for a handful of weeks. And so it's going to be a long process. And I wrote a column about this. It's up right now at turnthejets.com. About this whole thing. It's going to be frustrating to watch, and like Ben said, it's boring. I mean, it's not anything that's going to, make you excited.
It sucked to watch through it again. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
It was fairly painful.
Dude, I wrote in the column that I almost fell asleep watching it, and I'm a huge Jets fan and a huge football fan, as you know, but the fact is that's how they're building him. And look, let's be real about this too. Barring some sort of miracle, he's not starting week one. It's going to be McCown. So I don't know when they're going to feel comfortable with Hackenberg starting. It's going to be at some point, obviously, but he's nowhere near ready yet. It's very clear that they're right at the beginning stages of this where if he's just being asked to do these predetermined reads, there's no way he's going to be ready in a couple of weeks, right? So
Well, sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead, boys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say there is, the Jets aren't in a normal position here. You have to decide, okay, what is ready for the New York Jets quarterback? If Hackenberg can get to the place where he's comfortably, at least seeing the right throw, taking what the defense gives him, even if it's still at a boring level and some baby steps, and they have to keep him on the old Mark Sanchez green light, red light that they used to use in his rookie season.
Right.
You run a Play Like a Jet podcast focused on past teams. I'm sure you remember that. But if they have to run that offense, that might be more. That's probably more beneficial to the team to having Hackenberg out there getting those reps, even if they're boring to watch, than having 38-year-old Josh McCown reading defenses. So I think McCown, even if he's playing, somewhat well, I think as soon as they lose 3 games, I think he's out. I honestly, it might not even get to that because I don't think the Jets are in the position of necessarily playing, okay, who's going to be the guy who's going to be best week in, week out, or I guess lowest floor. They're going to be looking, okay, can we play these young guys? Can we get Hackenberg to develop? So at the time, December, he's looking like somewhat of an NFL quarterback and making reads and throwing great passes. I think that's what they're going to try to do. So I think he'll be starting by end of September, early October. And, not to depress any Jets fans, but, Quincy Enunwa would be perfect for this West Coast offense, even though it's a vanilla version of it.
You're depressing us.
Yeah, I know, but you look at it. The West Coast offense, as we said, is built on yards after the catch. And Hackenberg, if he's able to throw that 6-yard, pass to Enunwa is the only guy who's proven on this team that he can take that 6-yard, route into a 50-yard gain, breaking multiple tackles and stuff. So Enunwa would have been a very big help for Hackenberg and for this offense. But hopefully Bowles and Morton return this next year, and maybe it's Hackenberg. I mean, hopefully it is. I mean, or it's Darnold, whoever it is. But Enunwa is perfect for this West Coast offense. I think they should definitely re-sign him. But he would have been great for this team. But look, it's just who's going to step up. It's got to be one guy on the bottom end of that receiving depth chart. Has to be a guy who can develop yards after the catch.
Here's my worst fear about this. Yeah, here's my worst fear about this. We're going to go into the year, and I think McCown is a starter. I think that's pretty clear. I think that's been shown in training camp, and obviously the nice drive. I don't think that's going to change. I think me and you made that prediction, probably a month ago now, Ben. So I think we were pretty spot on about that. My worst fear is this defense is going to be good enough to where we get maybe 4 or 5 wins just against bad teams. Maybe somebody's out, maybe their quarterback's out. Maybe we just have a bunch of sacks, kind of like the Cincinnati game, except actually we win. My worst fear is we get maybe the 12th pick because of that. We're still not necessarily sure about Hackenberg, but it wasn't pathetic. There was improvement, and McCown's going to be gone, and Petty. I mean, I don't know about Petty. I still think he's the most talented. He's just not putting it together. Oh, my God. He's just not putting it together.
What does that even mean? Kyle, what are you even saying? He's the most talented.
I think he's the most athletic.
He's a 26-year-old quarterback, Kyle, that's played 3 games in his career.
Quarterbacks play the 35 now, Ben. So,
Kyle, I don't even care. Hackenberg's 21, 22 years old, has much more talent. If you could maybe make the argument, okay, Petty has a lower floor than Hackenberg. At Petty's worst, he's better than at Hackenberg's worst. You can maybe make that argument. To say he has a higher ceiling or has more talent, that's just false, Kyle. That's not correct. Hackenberg has a better arm, is more accurate, is better size.
My pop filter just killed itself because of that take, Ben. It fell right off.
It fell off. Yeah, mine did that a few months ago. But, look, I don't think you can make that statement, Kyle. I
disagree. I think he's the most athletic. As great as Hackenberg's arm is, he's just not accurate with it. And, I mean, he still was a little inaccurate in this game. I will say that has improved. His accuracy has improved. I will say that. But I do think Petty's more accurate.
Give me 3 examples of Hackenberg's accuracy. You can maybe throw out that one deep route we talked about to, I believe it was Frankie Hammond.
Yeah, that was way over his head.
But you could also make the argument that McCown threw a very similar route to Robbie Anderson, and that was caught. It was over the shoulder. Yes, it arched.
That was a great throw.
You're saying it's a great throw because it was caught, because Robbie Anderson has proven that he can do that. But it was thrown the same way, that it came over his shoulder. It came over his shoulder. But Frankie Hammond is a guy who has literally never played it down in the NFL. I don't know.
Here's the difference, though, Ben. Robbie was open. Frankie was not. The throw shouldn't have been made. Josh McCown looked off the safety enough where the safety hesitated before he reacted, so he couldn't go and help out the corner who got beat like a drum, like Robbie can to most corners in the NFL. So it was a great throw.
That comes with experience. McCown is not Tom Brady. McCown's played with 10 NFL teams.
I'm not saying
I
do not believe Hackenberg is, or not Hackenberg, McCown is a good quarterback. I'm just saying that was a good throw.
Yes, McCown is the greatest mentor that's ever been lived in Mentorville, and he's the mentoriest mentor of all time. Haven't you been reading the story?
Yeah. I think I missed that.
He cheers him on, guys. He cheers him on. He claps.
Yeah, did you? He actually got hyped for that, and I was like, all right, we got our guy. I was convinced at that moment in time when he got really excited over that catch. Shout out to Fitz on Hard Knocks, ping pong champion. I don't know if you guys saw that last night. Really good at ping pong. Still hangs out with Nick Folk.
Yeah, not good at football, great at ping pong.
Hangs out with Nick Folk. I love that. They were paddle boating together with all their little kids, and Hard Knocks got Nick Folk's wife's name wrong. So it was an eventful episode for former Jets.
All right, let's stop plugging. That's the second time you've plugged Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks. I love Hard Knocks. I really do. Jameis Winston.
All right, let's move on. Scott, let's talk a little bit about this Jets front seven. They had a terrific game on Saturday, compiling 8 sacks. Who were you most impressed with, and why? Out of that front seven.
Man, I mean, you got the obvious ones. I mean, Leonard Williams is Leonard Williams, obviously. And then there's other guys that are interesting that you're going to look at coming out of the defense. I mean, you want to just talk about the front seven, or you want to talk about the guys in the secondary and the linebacking? Because Julian Stanford, obviously, and Josh Martin are the 2 guys that really kind of jumped out at me as, all right, well, it's preseason, but these guys are trying to make a statement. They look pretty good. Both of those two are the ones that really stood out to me, other than the obvious guys, Leonard Williams being, who he is and all that. What did you guys think? Those are the two guys off the top of my head, though, in that front seven.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I've been a big supporter of Julian Stanford this offseason. I think that,
give him credit for that. He has. He really has.
Yeah, I think that. I'm sorry. I think that I think if the Jets can have a starting lineup of Darren Lee, Julian Stanford, Darren Lee, Julian Stanford. It's Darren Lee, Kyle. You're gonna get in trouble again.
I don't want to get another comment, guys. Calm down.
Jordan Jenkins and Josh.
You better
Martin.
get his name right, by the way, because he'll get mad at you on social media.
Don't worry.
You don't even know. Can we talk about that, Ben? Are we?
No. We got some complaints.
We got some hate mail. Yeah, we got some hate mail because he hasn't earned his name. He has not earned his name.
That's so not okay, Kyle. Okay. Darren Lee, Julian Stanford, Josh Martin, and Jordan Jenkins, if those are the Jets starting four linebackers and they're playing well, those guys are all under, 25? I mean, that's a Jets dream scenario. They've had dinosaurs such as Brian Thomas and Calvin Pace and David Harris for years and years and years. I think I was very impressed with Julian Stanford, Josh Martin, as you said. I thought it was interesting that Jordan Jenkins played the entire game, who is one of our most, he was probably one of our most exciting players to watch this year, personally, that I'm excited to see. And then guys, 6th-round rookie Elijah McGuire plays 2 series. It didn't make any sense. I was kind of frustrated with how Bulls managed that.
I highlighted that in my first article for Turn on the Jets, the ups and downs, of the game, whose stock went up, whose stock went down. And I highlighted how Elijah McGuire was not used. And I forget who, made the argument. I think it was Joe Blewett last night on Jet Nation Radio. Shout out Joey Blewett. He was saying, he's going to be on this roster. The Jets don't want to get him hurt because they don't know where Bilal Palmat Pater is at. I kind of get the point, but I would still like to see Elijah McGuire, a late-round pick, who looks good on film, and we've been hearing some things on practice, but, so did Chris Owusu. So, things change. Practice is much different from the game. Ask Ross Martin. I'm sure he can ask him in the locker room if he wants to. I would like to see this guy play, and, maybe we'll see him, on Saturday against Detroit.
Sorry to cut you off there, but I just think, I don't know. I think that it's one preseason game. We have a lot to look forward to. I think you can make some assumptions about, Elijah McGuire, but I think, obviously the Forte and Powell situation is going to be something to watch, but we mentioned it on the show, Kyle, 2 weeks ago that, look, Forte, Powell both have injury history. McGuire is going to be leaned on a lot this year. So I see Blewett's point. I also can see that I think, a 6th-round rookie should get some snaps in preseason so he's ready when his time comes. But I understand as a running back why he necessarily didn't do that. Scott, let's move on. We'll talk a little bit about the offense. Some more similar question to what I asked about the front seven, the wide receiving core. Obviously you have your top 3 right now. You got Anderson. You got. I guess that's really the only proven guy I can really say. I was gonna maybe throw out like Peake and Marshall, and then have you choose out of the guys below that. But I guess besides Robbie Anderson, was there any sort of receiver, maybe a tight end, that stood out to you? Some of these no names. Did any of them jump out to you watching the game?
To be honest with you, for when I could keep my eyes open because it was so tough to watch at points, Anderson's the obvious one because of that deep ball that he caught from Josh McCown. After that, there was no one that really stood out to me in any kind of marked way. It was nice to see Pete get that touchdown, and there were a couple of decent plays by a couple of the guys at wide receiver and tight end. Nobody, you mentioned Elijah McGuire. I will say, as far as the offense goes, I've been hearing a lot of things, and Chris Levitas from Locker Room Update has been doing some training camp stuff since, and I'll get to this in a little bit, on Play Like a Jet. We've been going back to past training camps and telling old stories there, so we've been kind of putting that together with current training camp stuff. And she's been saying how well Elijah McGuire's been doing catching the ball out of the backfield. We didn't see a lot of that in the preseason game, although he had 2 nice runs that got called back. But you could see the burst, and I know Joe Caporoso, our fearless leader, believes that Elijah McGuire is going to have a pretty nice season for the Jets. I think he probably will as well. I think he's a guy that even though he didn't necessarily do a whole lot in the game as far as catching passes, you could tell that, and you guys alluded to this, how he mostly Hackenberg threw a lot of screens and pre-snap reads and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of reliance there, and you could start to see a little bit of that. And so while nobody really stood out to me, you could tell that with Elijah McGuire's bursts, that if he can get short passes and some blocks, that he could perhaps be a weapon in that offense that could be leaned upon once Hackenberg eventually comes in. But, yeah, I mean, I could sit here and lie and say that this guy stood out or that guy stood out. I didn't really see a whole heck of a lot. And to be fair, it's really because the game plan was so bland and vanilla that, I mean, who's going to stand out in a 7:30 game, right?
Exactly. Moving on about the offensive line, I think that was definitely one of the most worrisome positions that I saw personally. Scott, what's your take on the offensive line? Are you worried at all? You know, when we did our interview with Kelvin Beach and we talked about, actually I think this offensive line can surprise some people, and again, it's still early. It's only one game. But are you worried about this offensive line? Because that was actually a position group that going into the season, I was like, I think they're going to surprise some guys. I like Beachum. Obviously, we have two great guards. I think Shell graded, is still grading very well from Pro Football Focus, and somehow is not starting.
Didn't allow a pressure. Just another mismanagement by Todd.
Still not starting. And then I thought, hey, Wesley Johnson's played well, filling in for Nick Mangold. He's had quite a few, games that he's had to start. I think this is going to be a pretty good offensive line that was built pretty cheaply. But in this first game, they definitely struggled. What are your thoughts on the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. It's funny. I have written a couple of times when we did the roundtables at turnonthejets.com that I was more, I guess you would say, optimistic about this offensive line than most people were. A lot of people thought it was some sort of catastrophe, but I really liked what I saw to Shell last season. Granted, it was a small sample size, only a couple of games, and as you alluded to, he graded high at PFF. But I think it's one of those things where a lot of these guys don't have a ton of experience, but they've shown some flashes. Shell, obviously, we've seen some flashes from I'm drawing a blank on the center. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now on the center who's taken over from Mangold. Help me out on this one.
Wesley Johnson.
Yes, Wesley Johnson, exactly. Sorry, that was one of those things where my brain just malfunctioned for a second. So we've seen flashes of him as – yeah, well,
that just describes Kyle's life. It's okay.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, I mean, we've seen some flashes from him. So I thought, and obviously Carpenter and Winters. Winters is a very good – he's an above-average guard, and so is Carpenter. So you figure the guard spots are pretty solid. But, yeah, I mean, there's definitely – and Beachum, who you had on the show and did a great interview with, by the way, kudos for that one. He's a guy that is really – a wild card here too, because when he was with the Steelers he was good, and then he had the injury and he looked really bad last year with Jacksonville. So the question becomes, how does he look bouncing back from the injury? Is it one of those things where he's just never going to be the same, or can he sort of get back to form? And realistically, people say the Jets paid him a good chunk of change, but if you look at the insane amount of money, like Khalil, who's awful, got like twice as much as Beachum. So if Beachum can be even 60-70% of what he was in Pittsburgh, the Jets got a pretty good deal. I think, yeah, like you said, I mean, obviously the offensive line was pretty bad on Saturday. There's no question about it. And, I mean, if they're going to play like that all year, we don't have to worry about Hackenberg waiting much time to start because Josh McCown's going to get killed in the opening week. But I think that they're definitely – I think there's – more reason for optimism than pessimism. It's only one game. There's no reason to panic yet. I know Joe Malfa wrote a column about this at turnonthejets.com. I think these guys have shown enough potential that we don't have to sound the alarms after one game. But if at the end of the preseason these guys are still looking like this, then we might start to want to, get out those paper bags to hyperventilate into.
or checkbooks to offer any of the guys that get cut. That's personally something that I'm going to be watching. As soon as after that fourth preseason ends, or fourth preseason game ends, and there's some guys hit the open market, I think the Jets might be some heavy players. Scott, I mean, you shouted out earlier your article on Christian Hackenberg. I think that this probably will end it on. I know Kyle and you are polar opposites kind of on this take, and we opened it up with a brief discussion, but really quickly, okay, summarize your article, summarize your take. I know you talked about it a little bit earlier about how, the game was a little boring, but you summarize your thoughts on Christian Hackenberg's performance, and then when you're done, I'm going to give the mic to Kyle Kyle, you can debate
that's
Scott.
That's the problem. Yeah.
By the end of it, we're going to be off of Turn on the Jets because Kyle's just going to offend everybody with his anti-Hackenberg take.
These snowflakes can't handle my hot take.
Oh,
the beauty of TurnOnTheJets.com is that most of us are New Yorkers, so we're used to busting each other's chops. So don't worry about it, Kyle. Whatever you want to say is fine. And then we'll talk a little bit about past Jets. I'll talk about what's coming up on Play Like a Jet this week. But yeah, I mean, so I wrote a column and it went up today about Hackenberg, and essentially I kind of gave a brief summation of it earlier, but what it boils down to me is I kind of agree with Connor Rogers, a TOJ alum who's now obviously doing well for himself at Bleacher Report, and also Phil Simms had mentioned something about this and a couple of other people. Look, I didn't like the Hackenberg pick in the first place, and I think most people are in that camp. He had a lot of just terrible tape his last 2 years at Penn State, and it's one of those things where they picked him because I guess they liked what they saw his freshman year. They saw enough positive traits as far as physical ability, and they said, okay, we're going to pick this kid. And it's clear now, and look, I hate to say this, but Manish Mehta, who I think is probably the worst beat reporter in the history of the universe, certainly for the Jets, wrote about how the Jets.
I'm honored.
Well, he actually came at me on one time I tweeted something. I didn't even tag him, by the way, and he came back at me, and I'm like, all right, well, you're going to call me a loser. Who's the one that's who's name searching himself on a Friday night? It's pathetic. You'd think a guy would have better things to do, but he actually said that the plan has always been essentially draft him and then use him like a ball of clay, just completely mold him from scratch, almost like he's never played the quarterback position before. And in a way, it's almost like when you see one of these guys in Major League Baseball who, this guy was a shortstop and then we converted him to pitcher, that kind of thing. And that
usually does not work.
No, a lot of times it doesn't, obviously. But I'm not saying, look, this is my thing. If you were to ask me, do I think Christian Hackenberg is going to be the next quarterback for the Jets, I've said for a while I don't. I mean, I really want him to be, believe me. But, I mean, there's just too many things working against the Jets that it just doesn't seem like that would be the case. So that being said, though, they obviously had this plan where they were going to go, at very slow speed, and they were going to rebuild him brick by brick by brick, build his confidence, completely reteach him how to play quarterback. And that a lot of that had to do with the basic fundamentals, because one thing that we all noticed, not only at Penn State but even in the preseason games last year, was just how god-awful his fundamentals looked. And we talked about this, right? He was having problems hitting anybody on as far as accuracy, even on short passes. I mean, if you go back and look at some of his Penn State film, it's borderline embarrassing. He was missing guys on wide-open screens, which is just, I mean, it's sad. But what happened was they clearly decided that, okay, we're going to take this so slow, so let's first iron out his footwork, and let's iron out his decisiveness and his accuracy, even if it's just on short stuff. And we're going to make sure that's good before we even move on to anything else. And I think that's what this past game was about is, okay, can we make him more decisive, make sure his footwork is cleaned up? And, and look, a lot of it was predetermined reads and checkdowns and screens. We all know that, as you said. And it was boring as heck to watch. Ben, you're 100% right on that one. But to me, the whole process is they've decided this is their plan. It's going to be a slow process. They're going to rebuild him from absolutely nothing. And so it's either going to work or it's not. But they're not going to deviate from it, and they're not going to take any shortcuts. So that being the case, I think it's the best possible plan for him in terms of if he's going to succeed, this is going to be the way it's going to have to be done. And I'm not optimistic that it's going to work. And I know Joe Filippi, who's the president of the Hack Stand Club, will probably block me on Twitter or something for this. But I think we all pretty much agree that the odds of him being the savior quarterback for the Jets are not high. But if there's going to be any chance, it's going to be this plan. And I think that phase one of the plan looked good. Now, again, he didn't do a lot, but what he was being asked to do, the simple stuff that he was being asked to master, I'm not saying he was like, grandmaster level, but he looked a lot better doing all that stuff, certainly from a year ago. And Ben, you talked about that as well. If you can at least admit there was major improvement in those areas. And so that's more or less what my argument is. I don't think that Hackenberg is going to be the next Joe Montana, or heck, even the next, Ken O'Brien or Chad Pennington or anything like that. But if he's going to yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that too, but I think that's a discussion for another time. But yeah, so that's basically the crux of it. Is I think if he's going to be successful, this is the way it's going to have to be done, and he succeeded in what he was being asked to do, and expecting him to have done more than what he was being asked is deviating from the plan. That's not kind of where they're at with him. And it's disappointing. Look, I wish he was at a better spot right now. I wish that he was ready to start. I wish that I was confident he was going to start week 1. I don't think any of those things are going to happen, but that's really it. So I don't disagree with you, Kyle, in the sense that I think that obviously he has a long way to go, but the issue I take is I definitely think there was significant improvement in the fundamental area, which is where he was asked to really show improvement in game 1. And I think that if you're not going to admit that, then, I don't really know what you were watching. Because I think Ben basically hit the nail on the head earlier with that.
My worry about this is it going to take 3 years for this guy to be something, and is it going to limit us picking possibly an actual franchise quarterback who actually has good college tape and has shown a lot? Like, I don't know if Mike McCagnon will take a quarterback if we're in the top 5. We're in the top 5 most likely, unless the defense is like top 10, which I've said before on the show, which, hell, if they play like they did in the preseason, it very well could. So screw me. I mean, it looks like we're just going to get absolutely screwed in this. But I'm worried that the Jets are going to be so willingly committed to this, for reasons or not, to Hackenberg and the development of him. And they brought in an offensive coordinator that doesn't fit what Hackenberg does. And, they brought in Jeremy Bates, who has been out of the league for a couple of years. I mean, there has been some effects, but I'm just worried about what it's going to do for a possible future picks. I don't think we should be absolutely committed to Hackenberg like we are. I think for the time being, should he probably be our number 1 priority? Yeah. But for the future, I just don't think he's a part of it.
Yeah, man, I don't disagree with anything you just said, really. I don't. I think that that's a completely fair way to look at this. I think essentially they should commit this year to him at some point. I mean, I don't know when that's going to be. Like I said, I think unless some miracle happens, you talk to anybody that's around practice every day, and if you even just watching the game Saturday, it's fairly common sense that he's not playing week 1. But I think by week 3, week 4, week 5, you may be looking at that.
Well,
at that point,
behind this offensive line, he might be playing week 1.
Well, yeah, that's a fair point if they get McCown killed. But I think that, you give him this year, and this is and look, you've got a valid point, Kyle, because again, being that I host the Jets History podcast, I've seen this kind of thing where you have a situation like
no. We're not as experienced as you are, Scott.
Or that's just code for old. You're calling me old right now, but
all right, you called my bluff. You got me.
It's fine, but no, basically, even looking back a couple of years, you had the Geno Smith situation where he showed, down the stretch he played well, so they were like, okay, let's go another year with Geno, and obviously I like Geno, and I still think that he's better than people give him credit for, but obviously he was never going to be the answer quarterback. And the one that really jumps out to me, and this is where I think the parallel happens, and if you go back and listen to episode 1 of Play Like a Jet with Rob Carpenter, where we talk about 1992, you go back to Browning Nagel, who was a guy who was a very similar situation. In 91, he was playing behind Ken O'Brien. The difference here is that you don't have the Ken O'Brien, the longtime veteran, and all that, but in 91, they
picked... Or at least a good long-time veteran. I mean, we have...
Well, yeah. Right. Well, I mean, a guy who's a long-time veteran with the team, because at that point, O'Brien had been the quarterback for, 6.5, 7 years. But no, that's a fair point on the count. But I'm just saying, if you go back then, Browning Nagel was picked in the 2nd round. He was picked because the Jets tried to get Brett Favre. They tried to trade up ahead of the Falcons, and they couldn't. And so Brett Favre goes, of course, on to be one of the great quarterbacks of all time, and then the Jets get Browning Nagel instead. But the point I'm making is Browning Nagel comes in the following year after a redshirt year. He starts, and they had high hopes for him, and even in the first game, he did very well. But then it all fell apart, and he was terrible. The team went 4-12. And they ended up going in another direction. In this case, it wasn't drafting another quarterback. It was trading for Boomer Esiason. But the point is, I think, Kyle, you're 100% right in the sense that I think that's all of our fears. I'm sorry.
I like it when people say I'm 100% right. Ben doesn't tell me that enough. I'm like I need to be reminded how good I am from time to time.
Well, listen, when you're right, you're right. But I think that's the thing. I think a lot of us fear that. That's the whole thing with the tank versus no tank thing is I think people are afraid, and like you said, the defense being what it is, people are afraid that the Jets are going to go, one of two things is going to happen. Either the Jets are going to go like 5-11 or 6-10 and get like the 6th pick, and either they're going to have to trade $1 billion draft picks to go and get Rosen or somebody, or they'll miss out entirely. Or the other thing is, like you said, Hackenberg plays just well enough that McCagnon, who drafted him and doesn't want to be wrong, goes, oh, well, this kid shows some upside, so we're going to stick with him, and then it ends up being Geno Smith. So I think the best case scenario is he either shines like in a big way this year, or he completely fizzles like Browning Nagel did in '92, and then they go in another direction. So look, Kyle, I think the only real difference we have in opinion here is that I think the plan is his only chance, and I think that he improved in the areas where he was asked to improve. But beyond that, I think you're right. I don't have much, argument with you on the other stuff.
Well, okay, I'm going to chime in here for just a second. And Scott, I agree with Scott. Sorry, Kyle. I know you need your self-esteem boost of me calling you right. I agree with Scott here. I think, look, the Jets are not going to deviate from their plan. And although that's frustrating to a lot of fans, it's the right thing. Although it was frustrating that Hackenberg didn't play a single game last year, it was the right thing. It's the right move that the Jets are going to be patient. He, 90% probably won't start game one, which is, again, fans are going to be like, why are we starting a 38-year-old veteran? They're giving Hackenberg time. They're going to let him develop, because if they had thrown into the Wolves, last year, I mean, he would not be the quarterback he used to. Not that he's some great quarterback, but his confidence would be shredded. That's what happened to Geno Smith. That's partly what happened to Mark Sanchez. And Kyle and I got into this debate. It wasn't about Christian Hackenberg. It was about, I think it was Deshaun Kaiser, that Kyle was saying, Kyle said, well, he's a third-string quarterback. They obviously don't think he can be good or anything, or he obviously he's worse than Brock. Hold on. He's worse than Brock Osweiler in practice. And my point to him was, no, that's not what they're doing. They did the same thing with Mr. Trubisky. He has been worse. Hold on.
He has.
No, he is not. But I will just be quiet for a second. I'll explain why. Coaches, what they do with their rookies, and this is I didn't just come up with this. Is common knowledge that, and the Jets are doing this to Hackenberg. They're giving him these second-string reps, these third-team reps. Let him dominate against these backups, although he didn't dominate Saturday. He got some reps with the ones first, by the way. But, let these young quarterbacks play well against the young guys, get their confidence up, and by the time they work their way up to the ones, their confidence isn't shredded. So it doesn't necessarily apply to this situation since Hackenberg's playing ones and twos, but that's why they sat him. That's why he's taking his time. That's why it's all short. They're getting let's run the ball, get the 5-yard completion, get his confidence up. As he progressively gets better, you'll start to see him air it out more. But the Jets are going to throw him in there a year after one of the worst preseason games of all time and just have him start bombing it deep. Even though Hackenberg very well might be able to do that. It might be able to do that well. He might have had a touchdown if he did that. They're going to let him develop his confidence, get his footing, get him to the point where he's not terrified to be under center, and he didn't look terrified. And then that's what they're going to do. So, Kyle, I know this wasn't necessarily about the Jets. Your point wasn't that you made on Twitter that Deshaun Kaiser isn't starting because he's worse than Brock Osweiler. No, he very well might start week one. The problem is that they want him to dominate against backups. And it's the same thing with Hackenberg, except that's why he's sitting, and that's why he's probably not going to start for the first few weeks. Anything else to add on that, Kyle?
The reports out of Cleveland's camp are that Brock Osweiler, as sad as it is, will probably be the starter week one.
Yeah, he probably will.
And I thought out of all the rookies who were drafted, I thought 2 were going to start week one, and that was Chad Kelly in Denver, which
what I think.
Chad Kelly's the most talented.
Trubisky's going to start. Smith
Mike
will. Watson will start. Mike Glennon looked terrible. I think Osweiler will start, but Deshaun Kaiser will take him over. We're getting off topic here.
Wait. You go over that list again.
By the way, hold on, really quickly. Did Chad Kelly not play in the Broncos Bears game?
I'm going to be honest. I did not watch that game.
I don't think he did play. Scott, you can see how off topic we get here. But really quickly, before we're going to bring it back to the Play Like a Jet podcast, I promise we'll close you out. It'll be great. My predictions of who's going to start. I mean, I know we're doing an NFL thing here. I'll say
15 minutes of the NFL.
No, we're not doing 15 minutes. But we'll do maybe 2 minutes. Watson will start. Mahomes won't. Trubisky will start.
Week 1?
Yeah, I think Trubisky will start week 1.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, I disagree.
I think their plan is that he won't. But if you watch that game of
that was a bad first throw. Yeah, Mike
it was pretty bad.
Throw.
I think
it was bad.
I think Kaiser will start like week 4, week 5-ish. Same with Hackenberg. I'm trying to think who else did I miss here. There's another one I missed here. I don't think Kelly will start. I think they'll start Simeon. I'm trying to think of who else. Who was the other rookie quarterback that I'm just spacing on here? I think I hit them all, right?
David
Watson,
Webb?
Mahomes. I hit them all. Yeah. Okay, everybody. That's my predictions. Scott, let's bring it back to the Jets. See, Kyle and I go off the beaten path sometimes and start talking about the NBA.
It makes us great, man. So it makes us great.
It's fun to go off the beaten path.
Yeah, way to be humble, Kyle. My God.
Yeah.
You can see Kyle is just
humble.
He's a loose cannon, Scott. I don't know how I deal with him. But let's bring it back to your podcast. Obviously, we've plugged it a few times. Go ahead, give us the lowdown on what's coming up on your podcast, Play Like a Jet. Fantastic podcast to listen to for talk about past New York Jets teams. So if you've been a long-time fan, definitely make sure to tune in, or a new fan. You want to enrich your knowledge of the team. Go make sure to check out Scott's podcast. But Scott, really quickly, doesn't have to be really quickly. We have 13 minutes here. Shout out what's coming up on your podcast.
Well, thanks, guys. And first of all, I just want to say seriously, I'm really glad that you're a part of Turn on the Jets Digital now, because you guys do a great show, and it's really a pleasure to be under the same umbrella as you guys. And so welcome to the family, first of all. Let's start with that. And I think that all the podcasts really complement each other, right? Because we've got Joe and Dalvin spitting out the fire, the hot takes. We got Jeff and Dalvin getting everybody ready for the 2018 draft. That's with draft season. You guys do the live interactive call-in show, obviously, and that adds another element. And then my show is something that's different, because you guys all talk about what's going on now, and my show talks about stuff that went on in the past. And so, over the past couple of months, we've gotten this going. I've really been thrilled with the response, and everybody seemed to like it. We had, and I know you guys got to listen to a little bit of this. We had Kerry Rhodes on for a 4-part series to talk about 200008.
Yep.
That was
awesome.
Brett.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And listen, by the way, anytime you guys want to do a little run-in on Play Like a Jet, you got my info. You just let me know. But
all right.
Kerry Rhodes was a lot of fun to talk about.
Scott. I don't think you know what you just did.
The floodgates are open. But, so Kerry Rhodes was really cool. We talked about 2008, the year that Brett Favre came to town. We talked 1997 with Adrian Morrell. That was the year that Bill Parcells came in. 1992, as I mentioned, Rob Carpenter. That was the year that kind of parallels this year with the second-year quarterback who they were taking the training wheels off of. Nicholas Dawidoff came on to talk about 2011. And, in fact, you guys had Santonio Holmes on earlier, and there were some interesting stories. And I don't want to say anything bad because, he was just a guest on your show, but there were some interesting stories in 2011 that Nicholas Dawidoff, who wrote the great book, and by the way, if anybody hasn't read it, Collision Low Crossers, go read it. He had all access pass to the Jets in 2011, so we did a series there. And what we've been doing, this will be the second week, and we're going to carry it out for another week next week. We're calling it Surviving Camp, 2-a-days at Hofstra. And so the Jets used to practice at Hofstra, and we're finishing up a 2-week thing with Doug Shanahan, who was a 3-time All-American safety at Hofstra. And then when he finished, he tried out for the Jets, went through training camp, went through the preseason, and we talk about his journey step by step by step. Last week we kind of got into the beginning parts of it, how as a alum of Sachem High School and Hofstra University, he was friends with Wayne Corbett and Jumbo Elliott. And the funny part about it is he went into detail about how before Wayne Corbett was quote-unquote Wayne Corbett, he was just his brother had played football for Hofstra, and Wayne was just a guy that was friends with his brother who used to come over for Sunday dinner. This was before he became a Jets legend and everything. And so those guys really helped him. We talked about how he played for Joe Gardy, who was the defensive coordinator of the Jets during their glory years with the sack exchange in the 80s, and how Joe Gardy was his head coach at Hofstra and what a thrill it was to play for somebody like that. There were some really great stories about Herm Edwards and how he played lacrosse too, and he had been selected to play in the World Games, but the Jets weren't going to let him go because of the fact that it was going to coincide with the beginning of training camp, but Herm Edwards decided he was going to let him go and represent the country, which was really cool. And he told some stories about the coaching staff and stuff and just his initial impressions. But this week, you can go to it's going to drop on Friday. You can go to turnonthejets.com or obviously iTunes or any of the places where podcasts are downloaded and such. We're going to get into the actual training camp experience. He's going to talk about the hazing that went on. I'm not going to spoil it. You'll have to hear it for yourself. But there were some interesting hazing stories. Yeah, kind of like, Ben, how you and Kyle are going to get hazed at Turn on the Jets at our Christmas party this year. You're the new guys. You got to get hazed.
Oh boy, that's gonna be fun.
Oh God. Wait, can we schedule that? Because we think we'll be up in New York at some time this year.
I'll talk to Joe about getting you guys up here. We got to get I think Jeff Lloyd was making a joke about how we got to put a GPA clause in Kyle's contract.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Funny story, actually. Like, I came home today. You know, it's like the third day of school. I know we're a little off topic. Most callers don't care about this, but it's my show, damn it. Came home.
Whoa.
My
show.
Okay. And that show.
Okay. Yeah,
it was
like
the joke.
You do all okay.
Yeah, it was the joke, Ben.
Kyle's running the show. Okay.
Yeah, I run nothing. I'm very irresponsible, as this story will proclaim.
All three questions you wrote.
Yeah, I came home, used to going to bed at like 3 a.m. Now I have to wake up at like 5 to go to school, blah, blah, blah. So I came home, set my alarm, took a nap. It's like 7 o'clock. My alarm's been going off for like 2 hours. Just did not wake up. Still have to do all of my homework. Still have to do everything. So I am down for the GPA clause. I'm going to go and trade that front and center right now.
Kyle's rocking the solid 1.2 GPA.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Animal House, although now I'm going to sound old again, but,
Yeah,
0.0 GPA.
Well, Scott, I have to say about your podcast, awesome work you do. And look, anybody can sit up here and talk about things that are going on about the team. I mean, just look at Kyle. I mean, he's doing no work, and he's just blabbing about the team. But I'm just kidding, Kyle. I'm messing with you. But I will say, I mean, to do a podcast like yours, that takes a lot of work.
Hate on this show is what keeps it running.
Hold on.
That's what keeps it running.
We're keeping go with Scott. It takes a lot of work to run a show like yours. I can only imagine the amount of research and whatnot that goes into each interview to do an in-depth interview with a guy like Doug Shanahan, who probably doesn't have many stories known to the public that you have to go and do. So I really respect what you do. Definitely go to make sure that our listeners check out Play Like a Jet podcast. It's on Turn on the Jets or iTunes. It's next to ours. Now we're all under the Turn on the Jets digital podcast network. It's great. We're all wearing the same.
It feels great to be supported. I really love it.
We're all under the evil empire of the evil emperor.
It's a new experience for us.
Joe Caporoso is the Dark Overlord. But I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, Kyle, you got to make the graphic of Joe Caporoso as the emperor, and then all these other, Scott, Jeff Lloyd, Dalvin.
Scott, send me a high quality photo of you. I don't know.
And then we're gonna just put them on stormtroopers and like Boba Fett and Darth Vader. Let's just make a whole graphic of that. That'll be our new logo.
Wait, is Joe going to be Palpatine or Vader?
He'll be Palpatine, obviously. Okay, obviously, he's the head. He's the head of the evil empire.
DA or Jeff?
It's Joe Caporoso's world, and we're all just living in it, boys. But I appreciate. Thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate it, and I'll just say this real quick, and then I'll hop off because I'm sure you guys have had enough of me by now. But But basically the thing about it is the whole reason that I started the podcast was because, obviously everybody's talking about what's going on now, and I thought it was something that would be cool to do because, it's a way for fans of the team who were around at the time and weren't around at the time even, to learn and to hear inside stories. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times when I was talking to Kerry Rhodes or Adrian Morel or whoever, when I would say, yeah, so then this happened and that, and then like I remember Adrian Morel like, oh yeah, that's right, I totally forgot about that play. Yeah, I remember it was a hitch 23 or whatever it was and stuff like that. But the opportunity, look, I could sit there and research stuff and kind of read it and do a podcast that way, but to me, the real value of it is to hear these stories from the guys that were there. You could hear it from me, and I could just, go through the research, but to hear the stories firsthand and to get some cool stuff. I mean, that story that Kerry Rhodes told, if you guys remember, he talked about, and it gets referenced on the show with Doug Shanahan, where he talks about Herm Edwards telling everybody, don't worry about your girlfriends, Mickey's taking care of them, and everybody's like, who's Mickey, coach? And it is like, oh, don't worry about it. Mickey's the guy she's seen on the side. He's taking. And Kerry Rhodes said they're all running out of the room to go call their. But these are the kind of stories that no one has, no one's heard, and these are kind of cool nuggets that for me as a diehard Jets fan, and for everybody else that's really what my role is, to just get these guys to tell these stories so that fellow Jets fans can hear the inside stuff. And I really appreciate you guys, with your the kind words that you said. And with Doug Shanahan, let me tell you, he's a guy that, like you said, he's not a name that a lot of people know necessarily, but he's got a lot of really interesting stories. And sometimes it's not really about the name, it's about the stories that guy has and what he was there for. And like I said, you'll hear about some hazing. You'll hear about playing in different preseason games. In fact, there was a former Super Bowl hero that Doug Shanahan did really well against in a preseason game. I'm not going to spoil that. You'll have to download that and check it out. And there's just, he made it all the way through the preseason. So the question becomes, would he make the final roster and all that? So there's just a lot of really cool stories that he has, and it's great to me. I think it's a lot of fun to hear from a guy like that and his journey because, a guy that gets picked in the first or second round, they're guaranteed to make the roster, and so training camp isn't like a fight for your life. But with a guy like this, it was. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff there, and I'm glad that so far people have seemed to respond positive to it because, like you said, Doug Shanahan's not a guy that a lot of people know as far as football. They know him more for lacrosse, but people seem to enjoy the story. So I hope everybody will listen on Friday when Part 2 drops. And again, gentlemen, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I love what you guys do. I'm really happy that you guys are on board now as teammates. And hopefully, we'll make this a regular thing. I'll call in, and Kyle can yell at me, and I'll tell him to go do his homework before he eats his ice cream and, all the good stuff.
I'm not a big ice cream guy, for the record. I just want to say.
Another cold take.
Actually cold take.
Great pun.
Thank you. I'm not a huge ice cream guy. It has to be I have to be in the mood for ice cream. I get thirsty when I eat ice cream.
Great to know.
Yeah.
My girlfriend drinks ice cream, so I know what you mean. She will not eat ice cream unless she's in the mood, and when she is, she drinks it. So I hear you.
Yeah. You let it melt a little bit. You make it into kind of like a frozen yogurt type of thing. It's much better that way.
Okay. These are just cold takes, Scott. You got to get off the show while you still can save grace.
By the way, did we get signing bonuses?
My God, Ben, I don't know how you do this every week, but God bless you.
He's just a dog chasing cars, and he's just a mad.
One day I don't know what I'm going to do when I catch
Look at him. Look at him. He just. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, Scott,
really
quickly.
The Batman quote.
Great job. I will say, Scott, I mean, the other great thing about your podcast, not to keep buttering you up because we got to get, but just to say, I mean, I want to say, it's one of those things where you're talking about past teams and that, social media and stuff wasn't around. So, there wasn't as many, today, every single practice rep was recorded, but, back in 1992 or whatever, not every story is known. That's awesome. And you know what? You're right. I think it is, you'll find some of the best stories with those roster bubble guys, not the big names, the guys who kind of just sit back, watch, try to earn their keep. I think that's some great stuff you're doing over at Play Like a Jet. Make sure to follow you. Scott, really quickly, where can our listeners follow you on Twitter?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm at Play Like a Jet 1. And obviously, you can see the columns that we all write. Kyle debuted, as he said, over the weekend at turnthejets.com. And then The podcast is available pretty much anywhere you can download podcasts. And if for some reason you don't feel like downloading it or whatever, Joe's got it up Fridays at turnonthejets.com. So, yeah, and I mean, like you said, the bubble guys have interesting stories. They're different stories. That's not to say that the stars don't have them because, look, Kerry Rhodes was an all-pro, and he had some tremendous stories. So everybody's got different stories, and it's a matter of, you know, what's the perspective. But I think what I try to do is bring the inside story from a season or a player's career. And there's going to be a lot of cool stuff that we have in the works, and I'm not going to get into it now, but yeah, so that's basically what we're looking to do, and I hope that everybody is enjoying it, and I really appreciate your guys' support, and like I said, you guys are welcome on anytime, and glad you guys are a part of the Turn on the Jets digital brand.
All right, well, Scott, thank you so much. That's very kind words. Thank you so much for welcoming us with open arms. Scott, thank you so much. Play Like a Jet. Go listen to it. Have a nice day, man.
Thanks, boys. And Ben, God bless you, man. Just get through this. Get through these shows one minute at a time.
2 hours in.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
I pray for him that night.
I know. I feel like Todd Bowles right now, and you're Christian Hackenberg, and I just have to watch you just struggle and just
you're holding out hope, but everybody loves me for some reason.
No. I don't think that's the case. Your voice, I will. There are a lot more haters. I will say your voice has dropped since we started the show.
I'm blocking out the haters.
I listened to our first show, and oh my God.
Yeah, both of us were. I was worse.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was worse. You think it's so defensive? I mean, God. You wonder why I'm like that.
I'm just saying.
Obviously, I was worse, but we were both in a boat that was like, we were on a boat, and we're going down with each other. I mean, it was not pretty. Got some other callers, or do you want to do that first?
We have two more. Actually, let's do. We'll save all that for the end. I didn't plug the show at the beginning, so we'll do everything at the end. You got two more callers on the line. We're gonna go through these. We'll start with Justin here, who oh boy, we're gonna have a great debate between Kyle and Justin. I think there's only gonna be one topic we're gonna talk about.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Mr. Justin, thank you so much for calling in, man. I didn't unmute him. There you go. Justin, thank you for calling in, man. I see you just purchased your Christian Hackenberg jersey. Going to be repping it this Saturday while you watch the game from home?
Some money.
I mean, I don't see what your problem is with Christian Hackenberg saying this guy is not playing good.
Justin, can you speak up a bit? I think there's.
His performance is kind of like your audio right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah, boy, Justin, do you have can you talk? It was a little muted.
Yeah, I don't know how you're saying this guy's playing bad. I just don't know what you're watching. You're clearly not watching what I'm watching.
I want Kyle, I want you to make your take. Make your we've talked about it a bunch. So just summarize what your points are, and then Justin, I want you to defend all your points.
Please.
And I'm just gonna watch this fire. Okay, I'm not gonna mute myself. I'm gonna be quiet. I'm just gonna sit back and watch the explosions or the fireworks.
Some men just want to watch the world burn, and Ben's just gonna.
You just cut off my Joker joke.
Yeah, your Joker. You just came in with a Joker quote, and I just came in with an Alfred quote. So
no,
boom.
Yeah, okay, I know, but I already said it earlier. Anyways, Kyle, overarching summary on your Christian Hackenberg take.
Yeah, here we go. All right, where do I begin? Justin, you're there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's start with the play call. The play calling. I understand his first preseason game, but there definitely should have been much more, fluidness to it, and there should have been much more extensiveness. Can I talk, please? Can you please just let me get my points out, Justin?
No. Keep it up, Justin. I like it.
Yeah. I also have the power to mute, so let's remind everybody of that.
Don't pull a Gary Smith here.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to Gary, getting married. That man. So anyway, the play calling was poor. I thought the execution was subpar. I mean, he had some really nice throws. He had that one really nice drive. It looked impressive, but everything else to me was just no decision-making, doing what the coach is telling you, going to the route that you just know and is absolutely going to be there, not going through your progressions, not setting your feet from time to time. There were just numerous things that I did not like, so you can't come out here and tell me he's improved so much just because he isn't throwing the ball 5 yards behind guys.
Yes, he has.
Justin, you can't just come on the show and interrupt me when I'm making points.
Okay,
it's like court.
Kyle, okay, hold on. Kyle, just make your points. Justin, you can defend him, all right?
It is an improvement just because he can hit a receiver now. That just means that he's kind of worthy of being in the league. Now I'm going to mute myself because I'm definitely going to, scream.
What are you talking about? Did you even watch the game?
Watched it twice, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect from? I mean, the guy has showed an improvement in his mechanics. You haven't seen the practice. You haven't seen him in live action, and you're saying this guy is not improved? Improved? This guy has improved dramatically. If he's ready to start week 1, that's a separate conversation. It's not a question if he has improved his mechanics. Without a doubt, the answer is yes. It's a fact at this point.
Muted. For the record, I will continue this point as I did with Deshaun Kaiser. If you cannot beat out Josh McCown, and in Deshaun Kaiser's case, if you cannot beat out Brock Osweiler,
okay, but you
are not good.
Things. Those are two absolutely different things. They're two different things.
Deshaun Kaiser's better than Hackenberg.
No, Kyle. Okay, hold on, everybody. I'm Deshaun Kaiser's biggest fan. I'm Deshaun Kaiser's, well, maybe next to Tyson, but I'm one of Deshaun Kaiser's biggest fans, okay? And I will say this. I think that to say that he's not starting because he's worse than Brock Osweiler, that's just false. He's getting reps, Kyle. How hard is this to understand? He's getting reps with a third string. They're building his confidence, and he will
get reps with the third string? Why get
because Kyle, because they want him to dominate those guys, get his confidence up. Do you not understand how nerve-wracking it would be to have millions of people watching you, and you're going under center with a first team against guys who've been in the league for 5, 6, 7 years that are all pros. They're getting him against guys.
Isn't that why they're there though? Because they're good.
Kyle, he will get there.
Here's the thing about playing against third string: you're going to build up your confidence, and then you're going to go and play against some first string defense like Geno Smith, and then get crushed.
Kyle, the Jets have made that mistake. The mistake that you're talking about. You need to take a
terrible comparison.
Hold on. Let's get this straight. You need to take a page out of Play Like a Jets or Scott's podcast and listen to it. Kyle, the Jets have made this mistake all the time, and I'm sure he will cover this. But
primarily because they did not have a talented
No, it's because you throw your quarterback to the wolves. And the Jets were actually not going to make this mistake until Mark Sanchez tore his labrum. It's like they were actually going to make the right decision. You let the rookie sit for a bit. First of all, Geno Smith wasn't a top 10 pick, Kyle. He was picked number 37.
You said Mark Sanchez.
I said because he was going to start that year, 2013.
Geno Smith should have never started.
I mean, yeah, and I will admit I was excited. I was a big Mark Sanchez fan. I have like 5 of his jerseys. But I will say that I was excited. Oh, we get to see the rookie quarterback, and many Jets fans would be excited if McCown went down. As terrible as it sounds, if McCown went down in the 3rd preseason game, people are going to be like, oh yes, we get to watch Hackenberg start week 1. Which is would it be fun to watch? Yeah, but he's not ready. He could be ready. He might be ready by week 4. But Kyle, you can't throw that argument. Well, if you're not better than Josh McCown, right? He's 22. He's basically a rookie. Give him time. He's taken a huge step forward, and he's still growing. Honestly...
Obviously, Maccagnan and Bowles, they made the decision to draft him. Well, I'm hoping Bowles was in the decision to draft him. I'll just say to be completely correct, Maccagnan saw something in him, reached for him in the 2nd round, and hopefully 2nd round picks are your starting quarterback, at least for a couple years. Usually not franchise. You
don't know. If you don't give him a chance, you don't know. You're not even giving the guy a chance.
I think we're going to give him a chance this year, and he's going to show exactly what he's shown in the past.
Progressions from year 1 to year 2?
No, from college being one of the best quarterbacks and probably a first-round pick to being a guy who was consensus 5th or 6th.
You got to stop with this. First, you got to give these guys a chance. That's the problem with you Jets fans.
Here's the thing. I'm sick of hearing that, though, because we've heard it with Matt Finn, Geno Smith, Bryce Petty.
Greg McElroy.
Exactly. These guys could be something, but you guys don't give them a chance. We don't know what Petty is. We don't know what Geno is. That's the bottom line.
Geno can't beat out Josh
back in there.
Johnson. Josh freaking Johnson. A guy who wasn't even in the league for a couple years.
Not really, because if you're clearly paying attention to it, he looks way better.
No, that's just false.
Geno actually did look pretty good, except he threw that terrible interception.
Josh Johnson is clearly beating him out in camp, and it's not even a question. Any
clearly don't even know what you're talking. You clearly are. You cannot.
All right. There's some bad blood here. Justin. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll talk a little bit about some other topics. Then we got to move on. We got another call on the line, and we're going to overtime here. But I want to ask you. Just about this past game, then I'll ask you about the game this Saturday against the Lions. First off, this past game, what stood out to you? Just a few things, guys who thought looked well, guys thought you disappointed, just overarching, just what your observations from last Saturday's game.
Nick Dougal looks good. Looks like Buster Stream's not going to make the roster. Defense looks faster. Defense is going to be very good this year. Not really much. I want to see what Week 2 brings. That's more telling to me.
The argument against McDougal, I do think he played well for the most part, but if Ronald Martin doesn't make that play, that's a touchdown that might get you cut. Because he took the under route. He made the wrong read on that. He bid on the under route, and he got fooled by who was that quarterback? I can't even name the quarterback. Honestly.
He made some good pass deflections, and maybe he had one bad play.
Yep.
He had a great game. Simple.
Here's the thing, though. One bad play, Justin, changes everything. All right. All right. Kyle, can I just say, Justin, to give you context, Kyle said he was most impressed with Dexter McDougal in his article on Turn on the Jets, or his little roundtable. So, I mean, you guys are on the same side here. Justin, this Saturday, game against the Lions, what are you looking forward to seeing?
Hackenberg.
Kill me.
No, I agree with him. I think that's what I'm most excited to see too. I mean,
I'd much rather see the first team offense.
Wait, Kyle, hold on. Kyle, Kyle,
everybody.
What just happened? All right, I guess Kyle just muted himself. Kyle, you do realize every time you mute yourself, you cut yourself off, so you can't. I didn't even hear what you said. But
I did everybody.
Sure. I will say this. No, I'm excited to see Hackenberg. Kyle, you're being dumb if you say you'd rather watch 38-year-old McCown at a preseason game. Of course you'd rather see Hackenberg.
I'd rather see the first team offense.
No, I'd rather see Hackenberg will get time with the first team offense. Kyle, you could make your take on whatever. If you hate Hackenberg or like
you guys, what are inferring? You're just saying when I say first team offense, you guys are thinking, oh, Josh McCown. No, not Robbie Anderson's progression as a number one receiver, not how the offensive line is looking in extended reps, not if Bilal Powell of Matt Forte is going to play, not Jordan Leggett, Austin Sperry, and Jenkins. That's the problem. You guys are only thinking about the quarterbacks. When I said
not really, no, or clearly not, because ASA is not going to be around week 1. He's not going to be around week 2.
But he's still our starting tight end, and which is even the more case for me to see the starting offense, Justin, because then Jordan Leggett needs reps. Now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
All right, so now who doesn't know what he's talking about?
Okay.
I don't know what he's talking about, but I mean, ASA could get extended reps. That's just more of a reason to give him reps, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Justin, really quickly, give out your Twitter handle.
Justin2413.
All right, thanks, man, for calling in.
Guys.
All right, that was Justin. Bit of an attitude there.
I have to mute myself.
Can you stop? You every time just stop talking, because every time you mute yourself, I don't think you realize it. You don't hear the first or last word of whatever you say. It's like every time you mute yourself, it sounds like you just cut out. Just be quiet.
No, because I actually
I know that's hard for you, Kyle. All right, we're going to go to the next.
I actually start saying things that I have to mute myself for, so.
Okay. All right. Hakeem, thank you for being very patient.
Please, Hakeem. You're reliable. Please don't piss me off.
No. Hakeem, one of my favorite callers. Hakeem always brings the fire. How's it going, man?
Oh, man, it's going great. We had a really nice game, first game to watch, so we have a lot of analysis to cover. It was great for the Jets to come out with a W, a defensive performance, so that was really cool. But, yeah, there's definitely some bad blood between Kyle and Justin, and I have an idea for Justin's intro music should be Bad Blood by Taylor Swift every time he comes on. That would be great.
I think we have that.
Between him and Kyle.
I think we have that.
I would love to hear that.
That is an all-star idea there. I like that. That's a great idea.
Taylor Swift is suing people, though, for, like, using her music. It's kind of sad.
All right. Well, anyways, Hakeem, let's talk about this game. I want to talk about it. Kyle and I touched on it earlier. Todd Bowles and his management of some of his players in this preseason game. I mean, guys like Jordan Leggett weren't getting many opportunities until the end of the game. Guys like Elijah McGuire, guy who was picked after Jordan Leggett, played 2 series and then he was out. I mean, what do you think of some of the management of some of these players? Jordan Jenkins playing the entire game. McCown only playing a series. I mean, there's plenty. That one I actually agree with. But there are plenty of interesting, let's just say, personnel choices he made throughout this game. What do you think about all that?
I mean, yeah, it was definitely interesting, but it was only the first game. Like, yeah, I don't think it, means one thing or another. It was good to get McCown out of there early because, ending with a touchdown, you always want to leave on a nice positive note. I thought that I think the reason why he played Jordan Jenkins the whole game is because really Jordan's never really played a whole game in the NFL. Like, last year he was coming off on passing downs until later in the season. And so I think they just want to, get him battle ready, game tested.
Good point.
So I think, and Jordan, he showcased himself. He had a strong day. So I don't think they're going to do that to him again. But I think that as far as the running backs, they wanted to see some of the, lesser guys because if Elijah McGuire got hurt, we would have to sign someone else. There would be, issues just with the run game. Like Bilal, we want to bring Bilal back slowly because we need him the whole way through. I think it's nothing we can read too much into. It was just the first game. If we notice some trends that continue into the second game, then I think, it should be brought up for discussion.
Yeah, I think the way that all of the rookies were managed was a little confusing. I think the only ones that we really stall at an extent were Derek Jones, and I think that's about it. I mean, obviously Jamal Adams, Marcus May, I think they only played the first series. I think Jamal Adams got 10 snaps in total. Ardarius Stewart, 2 targets, 1 reception. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ben. Not a huge load for him. I understand the injuries. Chad Hansen, I mean, didn't really see him a lot. Elijah McGuire, as Ben said, he was taken off after the second drive. I mean, treated like a veteran who was proven anything. Jeremy Clark, he wasn't out there. Yeah, okay. And Derek Jones, he had 1 really nice play. And then the other play, unfortunately, he got beat deep. But, he's still work in progress as a corner. He's one of those developmental guys. So, really, I was shocked to see more, guys, who were, undrafted or late round or just, free agency signings from, years ago getting more and more reps instead of the young talent that we took this year who need all the reps.
Yeah, we saw a lot more of undrafted guys than we did of the guys we actually drafted, which was kind of odd.
The guys we
and that might be because because it's hey, these are guys we drafted, we don't want to injure them, and it also could be hey, we already know these guys are making the roster, let's see the guys who we don't know. But it's also these guys need reps. I don't know, guys like Jordan Leggett, he's gonna have to start week 1, and he barely got any time.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll see what happens second game. I'm sure they'll give them more extensive playing time because the second and third game is really when the starters and the backups play the most. So I'll be excited to see what happens. Tune in. But overall, the game, man, I loved it. We had a lot of energy out there. It was a gritty game from start to finish. It was close the whole way. It was exactly the type of W we needed, and it's going to be the type of W's we need, if we're going to win any games this regular season. It's going to be a defensive first, and hopefully we can run the ball a little better. But I just love that, a couple things, the defensive line running sprints, during the timeouts. That got me excited. And also, in the fourth quarter, when we got, an undrafted rookie making a nice play, I see Leonard Williams. I see all the coaches. I see Mo Wilk, greeting him as he comes to the sideline with the high five. Last year, we would have just had Fitz and Marshall standing on the sideline, just talking to each other, thinking how great they are, when they are, they turned out to be the frauds that Sheldon called them to be. But I just love the energy from that game. Everyone was on board, everyone was committed, and I think we might surprise some people.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, my only concern about that, and it's not even really a concern, it's more of a warning, is I really hope that this isn't because everybody's been doubting them for the past couple months, and it's just that one game where they're, like, going to run around with their heads cut off and be excited and be a team. And, knowing the Jets, that's a possibility.
Yeah, right on. And I wanted to just touch on Christian Hackenberg, if I could, because I know Justin and you guys were debating. I think, Kyle, you can't deny that the kid has improved. But I understand what you're saying. It was a very basic game plan. It was the first, preseason game. And Johnny Morton considers him a rookie, and honestly, I do too. So he passed his first test, which is the easiest test he's ever going to face in the NFL, but he passed it. And, that's something all young quarterbacks must do. I think, we have to be more patient with our quarterbacks. So I don't know if you're giving him, enough time, because I know you want to, get another quarterback coming up. But I think he can mature, and you can tell he's put in the time to really work on his footwork, really work on his accuracy. And you just got to give him credit. Look, I don't think he's going to, come out and start for us even week one. I think McCown's going to start. But I think I would have to, side more with Justin than you based on, Hackenberg's progress.
Yeah, and Kyle, the other thing the other thing you're not even talking about is, your guy Bryce Petty, you've been so high on. What did you think of his performance?
Kyle. I think it was kind of just like not good.
Who would you say played better then? Because they were given pretty much the same game plan, and who executed it better, Kyle?
First of all, significant different amount of reps. I think the play calling was different.
Excuses.
The offensive line, you cannot deny that the offensive line was significantly worse for Bryce Petty. Did you see the hit he took?
They played, well, yes. Hackenberg played with a different offensive line at the beginning, but yeah, towards the end, they were practically the similar offensive line.
They performed better for some reason. I don't know.
I don't know what Petty did to piss all of his offensive linemen off.
Oh my God, yeah. Did you see the hit he took this time?
Yeah.
He got hit by 3 people at the same time. He is the toughest individual I've ever seen. That may be a lie. Maybe a little biased about that, but it wasn't great. Obviously there's more time. There's a lot of time. That's for all the quarterbacks. Josh McCown could lose his job. Hackenberg can transform overnight. Bryce Petty could suck. There's still time. There's still a lot of training camp. There's still a lot of football to be played. It wasn't a great performance. I wasn't encouraged by it. It was kind of just like you're our backup. We hope Christian Hackenberg's the starter. Josh McCown's the bridge. You're our backup. He's like the type of
inactive. He'll probably be inactive this year. Like for most, unless McCown or Hackenberg gets hurt, I'm pretty sure he's the definite number 3.
Probably.
Hakeem, before we let you go, Hakeem, what are you looking forward to seeing this Saturday against the Lions?
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. As far as Saturday, I want to see if, our pass rush can keep up the momentum. See if we can, pressure the quarterback at a high rate, get some hits on him, definitely get some sacks, maybe create some turnovers. I want to see who's going to stand out. I would love to see Dylan Donahue play, because that'll be really exciting, and I think he can give us an extra piece to our pass rush. It's going to be a fun game. I'm really excited. And as far as Bryce Petty, I think Miles White did drop a potential touchdown pass from Bryce Petty that he dropped in there. But overall, it's going to be fun to see how they continue to progress this training camp. But thanks for having me on, guys. You guys have a wonderful show. All right, Kyle. All right, Ben. Take care, guys.
Hey, you too, man.
Thanks for coming on, Hakeem.
Thanks
for the record, we're still friends. We're still friends.
Yeah, he left. He was out of there. He didn't even do that.
He's going to go to sleep tonight thinking we're not friends.
Hakeem, I don't think he cares. Hakeem, one of our favorite callers. He's got to call in earlier because, he's calling in towards the end here. We're going to wrap the show up. We didn't shout it at the beginning.
Wait, before we do, Ben, I have a question for you.
To fire away.
Do you feel like safe right now? Because I'm pretty sure there's somebody who's returned that has beef with you.
Oh, God.
Kembrell Tompkins
boy.
makes his triumphant return to come back and take Ben Blessington's reputation. It's going to happen.
He did. There was not beef. What do you think?
He was my background. His job, and he said no way. Like, he laughed at it, and then he lost his job. You told that man he was not good enough to keep his job.
He name-searched. He was name-searching. And can I just say, he was my background for a while.
Yeah, he liked your pic on Instagram. He, died.
Yeah, no.
I remember that.
No. Can I just say, no, he retweeted on Twitter. No, can I just say, no, all I said was it was actually this time, last year. He was not playing at all. Like, he was basically most Jets fans.
Hopkins better watch for these young guys, and then Kembrell's like, funny.
Yeah, no, it was because it was right after Robbie Anderson had that great game against Washington. Like Chandler Worthy played well, Jalen Marshall, and I basically tweeted out Kembrell Tompkins gotta watch his spot on the roster with all these young guys pushing. Or Kembrell Tompkins is gonna lose his job if he doesn't start playing well or something like that. And then he just quoted it was no, or with some laughing emojis or something. And then not even a week later, a few days later, just
gone.
Kembrell Tompkins cut.
Gone. You tell me you guys don't have beef.
And
you told that man
anyways,
he was not good enough for his job. Then that would be like somebody came up to you and they were like, you're not a great driver.
I'm cheering for him.
You were cutting out there. I don't know if that was me or you.
I've had that told to me many times.
Yeah,
I had that told to me many times, Kyle.
Yeah, but imagine you're a millionaire for it. You get paid millions of dollars to drive, and then somebody tells you, hey, this guy who's going to make $500K next year because he's an undrafted free agent.
Terrible analogy. Worst analogy.
Yeah, he's going to replace you.
So. An undrafted free agent driver. What type of analogy? That was the worst analogy I've ever heard.
Well, it related to you because I know you're a bad driver.
You've had so many cold takes.
Many people have said so.
I'm actually a good driver. Thank you very much. Kyle, first of all, I'm a good driver, and thank you very much.
You got reported to your school, and you got a ticket.
That's not for being a bad driver. One of them,
parking.
Okay. No, it's not related to this. No. I got a parking ticket once.
Backtracking.
No. I got a parking ticket once downtown. That was my fault, but it was 30 minutes and I was there for an hour. Okay, so you can't call me a bad driver. And yes, I got reported, but that was not for anything. I can defend myself. There were a bunch of kids in the middle of the road, and all I did was I tapped my horn, and they got out of the way, and I drove off. And this lady was like, "This kid just leaned on his horn, and all these kids scattered out of the way to avoid his car." So no, it was not. It was.
That's how we do it in Florida. I mean, if you're in the way,
I tapped my horn. I did the beep beep. It's whatever. Anyways, we just Kyle, you just get me off topic all the time.
Yeah, I love exposing Ben.
Yeah, sure. Anyways. As always, you can follow us at The Jet Take on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We're all over the place. Facebook, that's another one. You can listen to our podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or iHeartRadio, among others. Google Play in the mix there as well. As we mentioned, we are now part of Turn on the Jets and their whole network. We're on their website. Woo. Kyle and I will be writing some articles. Kyle's already written 2.
Oh.
I have one coming in this weekend.
I have another question.
Hold on. Let's get through the plugs. We also have our podcast will all be up there. So great place to go tune in. And, if you're not already, I assume you are. But if you're not already, go follow Joe Capros on Twitter as well as, Dalvin Osar, Jeff Lloyd, Scott, Play Like a Jet podcast. There's a bunch of people you can go follow.
Draft Season, go follow Draft Season. That's Jeff and DA. They do a great job, talking about what the Jets need, who the Jets are going to target.
Thanks for interrupting my plug.
Well, you didn't bring up you said their names, but you didn't say their podcast. And, all right. We're a family, Ben. We got to share the love.
Also, if you want some of the best tickets out there, if you want the absolute cheapest tickets, you can go to Seat Giant. Not only are they some of the cheapest on the market, or the cheapest on the market, you also get a discount if you use the code TheJetTake. Look at the little 11-year-old.
No.
Look at it. He's an 11-year-old. He is a little kid. He's a little kid. He can't even handle discount.
Say that. It's
I went to
No.
I'm not even laughing because it's funny. I'm just laughing because Kyle is like Kyle's like an 8-year-old.
No.
Kyle, okay, oh my God. doesn't prepare for the interview, steals my questions, does no work, and then acts like an 8-year-old.
I'm guilty of all of this.
Why do I run a podcast with you?
I'm guilty of all of this. He loves me. I'm guilty of all of this.
I don't. That was an 8. I was gonna keep moving on, and you just okay. Anyways, discount.
You can't just like move on from. You get a free dick. You just can't move on from that. You have to address that. That's
great.
The all-time soundbite.
Seatgiant's gonna listen to this plug and be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
Yeah. You can follow. Now we're gonna put up explicit on this one. Damn it, Kyle. You can for cheap tickets you can
Well, Santonio already cursed anyway.
Enter in the discount, the Jet Take. You can get some cheaper tickets. If you want official Jets tickets, we're working with the New York Jets to bring you guys this one. You can use our code, the Jet Take, on the Jets website to 3 games this year. The home opener against the Dolphins, the game against the Jaguars, or the game against the Falcons. So if you want official Jets tickets, go to the NewYorkJets.com website, enter the promo code the Jet Take, or if you want to go to SeatGiant, very cheap tickets, preseason, every other game, away games, whatever. Go to SeatGiant, and then you can also enter the promo code the Jet Take and get even cheaper tickets. Last little bit, you can also go to our blog page, thejettake.libsyn.com. That has all our episodes. Again, I mean, definitely probably go to the Turn on the Jets for articles, whatever, but our blog page has a summary of everything, has our links to all our social medias and our pages and whatnot. Also, if you want to call into the podcast, you can call in. Yeah. The number is 515-739-1285. Enter the PIN 261860. Enter the pound or hash sign after that. You can follow us on the Jet Take on Twitter. That gives all our information about when the show's airing and whatnot. We've been pretty consistent about Wednesdays at 8 p.m. But sometimes, especially as the football season kicks off, we sometimes move it around. But for the most part, we're Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. Kyle, last note before I end the show.
Yeah. How does it feel to be supported, Ben?
Great. All right. Anyways, let's end the show here. I guess Santonio already did the Jets chant. Yeah, he already did the Jets chant, but we have a little soundbite. I guess we might have to replace our soundbite with Santonio's. But as always, thank you so much for listening to our show. We really appreciate all the love and support. And again, a huge thank you to Turn on the Jets for bringing us into their network. We're looking forward to working with them. All right, guys. Thank you for a great episode with Santonio Holmes. We have some big things coming. We have a cool interview coming up. I think it should be this next week, maybe the week after that, and we also have a couple other things planned. So we're liking having an interview or at least somebody on to start each episode. We've done that for the past few weeks. Thanks, Kyle. Never mind.
What did I
anyways, that's a great point. What did you do? Anyways,
that was quite the spin
we'll end the show.
That was quite the spin zone, man. That's good. That
boy,
good.
I know. You made fun of me so I get to make fun of you. It's all love here. It sounds like we hate each other, but we do.
Yeah.
But anyways,
well.
Anyways, we'll leave you with the best chant in the National Football League. Thank you so much. Go Jets. We'll talk to you guys next Wednesday. Flip phone.
Kembro Tompkins for the